What is going on, everybody? It is episode 352 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I'm here with a co-host that's sitting in to help out with Mary today. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a marketing man extraordinaire. I'm just kidding. That's one of our guests for today.
That's Dane. Dane, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Dane Font, and I'm a writer for timcast.com.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing A-okay today. I'm getting everything set up for the stream today. And we also have with us...
Hannah Claire Brimlow. I am Ian Crossland. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. Co-host of Timcast IRL.
Are you a writer for timcast.com?
Yes. No.
Yes.
No.
You could be, though.
Could be.
Yeah, where are op-eds, Ian?
Where are they? Where are they?
No, I'm asking.
Right. You have a book out.
I do. It's called Writing in the Dark.
Yeah.
Check it out. It's on Amazon.
So you could be a writer for timcast.com.
It's true.
But he chooses not to, which I'm personally heartbroken about.
I've been working on a fantasy novel. Dude, by the way, if you like video games, Dan, you might like this too. I would highly suggest, if you want to turn a video game love into something passionate, like a career, start writing a fantasy novel. Because it's like a game that you have complete control over when you don't have to code the thing. It's just, you just write it down what happened.
Yeah, there
it's
you
awesome.
go. How's that coming along?
Really awesome. Easy, fun, fluid. Like, it's just, I already see the entire fantasy realm that I'm writing. I already have an idea of what's going to happen to the characters.
My issue with writing is that I wonder if every character is just an extension of me, you know, and it doesn't come off as unique.
About their own writing, right? Like, you always hear that, like, everybody's writing, you tell more about yourself than you do about the characters.
I think that's true, but I also sometimes find writers use their characters to try and understand people who they don't really see eye to eye with. Like, you have to write this character who's creating conflict, but then you also have to come to a point where you understand why they're creating conflict.
My favorite thing is when actors do roles where they're playing characters they don't like, and they can articulate why it is. They're like, look, it's not my job to like this person. It's my job to understand this person so that I can best portray them. I think we're long past those days in Hollywood now.
Ian might be able to speak to this more because you were an actor for so long, but I have heard that some actors specifically try not to get cast on anything that's too similar to them because it creates a blind spot, right? You can't be as objective. You can't sort of see it from that outside
I think they said there was a hilariously, like, Tom Hardy said playing Venom was like the closest he has to playing himself. Or no, I'm sorry. That's Cap. I was wrong about that. No, it was
you and your young person slang.
It was Jared Leto said playing Morbius was the closest he's played a character to actually being himself, which just made me laugh. So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today, guys. Grimes gives A-OK to AI music, which is very, very interesting given how much we've discussed a lot of things to do, mostly with AI acting lately. We've been talking about the ramifications of somebody with an iconic voice having to worry about their voice being lended to something that they might not want it lended to. I've got some examples of some really funny music and some good, some humor that have used the application of artificially created, art. For a lack of a better term. In this case, I've got one of three of the presidents singing See You Again by Charlie Puth and Wiz Khalifa. We're going to play part of all of these songs, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the idea of artists being able to get behind it as long as they can monetize it. We are also going to talk about one of the lead actors from Lilo and Stitch. We're going to talk less about him and more about the ramifications that are going to be out there now for when you decide to post things on the internet and you don't realize that those things can come back to bite you, which is weird because I feel like my generation was fed that their whole lives, right? Like, don't put anything out on the internet that you don't want people to know about, otherwise you're going to end up getting in trouble. Now it feels like people are actually coming to terms with that. So we will discuss that actor. His name's Caio Machado. He was fired recently, so we'll talk about that. J.K. Rowling, I say Rowling, they say Rowling. We'll split the difference and say J.K. Trolling, because she's trolling all of the people that are calling for a boycott of the new Hogwarts television series that's going to be coming out from HBO Max, because she just doesn't have time to put up with people that are lame. So we'll talk about that. And also, Twitter is back in the news again because on top of them giving a gold certification checkmark to a troll Disney account that was using racist slurs, they brought back and gave Twitter Blue to a bunch of celebrities that are dead, that are no longer with us. So we will discuss all of that. If you guys are ready, we'll get right into it. Hannah Claire, are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Dane?
Yes.
Ian?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get started. All right, a couple of notifications for the start of things today. If you remembered, they made a National Treasure TV series without Nicolas Cage, and if that sounds like a horrible idea, that's because it is a horrible idea to try to do, it would be like trying to make Terminator without Arnie in the movie. Or something like that, right?
So I've never seen that movie.
Oh, it's good.
Terminator?
The first one's weird.
It's funny. I made that comment because I'm actually wrong because I've been watching the Sarah Connor Chronicles right now, and it's like the greatest thing I've seen in ages. It's from like 2009, and there is no Arnie in that movie in that show at all because it was a television show, and they likely wouldn't have been able to afford having Arnie in it. But in this, so it was a National Treasure series that was on Disney Plus, canceled after one season. Tell me if this doesn't sound like a great pitch for you guys. A 20-year-old dreamer, meaning an actual dreamer like DACA, it goes on an exploration to discover a mystery of her family and history with the help of her friends. They call it a unique, diverse group of friends in the actual pitch for the show. And if that doesn't sound interesting to you, who would have thought? And of course, with no Nicolas Cage, did anybody really expect something like that? Like, what's a favorite thing you like to watch?
That's a very broad question.
Yeah, well, of anything. Like, think of something that's synonymous with a piece of media that you like.
For me, it's always comedy.
Okay, so what's something you like?
This might be lowbrow, but I don't care. I really like Dumb and Dumber.
Okay, so it would be like making Dumb and Dumber without Jim Carrey.
That's pretty wild.
That it wouldn't work, right?
No, it
wouldn't work with any of that stuff. Is there something?
I watch gameplay footage on YouTube, but it would be like some people I can't stand watching. I like Amaz. I like Amaz a lot.
Okay.
He does good Hearthstone videos, really smart, really quick. But if you unplug Amaz and plug some other guy into that role,
it's totally different.
The charisma is a big part of why I watch.
I love the show. I've mentioned this a couple times. Gilmore Girls. It's based.
That's a
on
great show.
Katie Holmes.
It's amazing. Katie Holmes? ?
Is she in that?
No.
What was she in?
I don't know, but it's
Dawson's
Lauren
Creek.
Graham and Alexis Bledel. Oh, I think you're right. Who stars the mother and daughter, and I absolutely cannot imagine if they tried to do a remake without them, or do like a feature film, but they cast somebody else, or tried to remake the series. It was so iconic for its time. It was really revolutionary in the type of dialogue and script and all of the references. And I think, for the most part, those two actresses really carried the weight of that. Taking them out sort of
wouldn't work.
Would delete the series. You just should make something else. Sort of, and that's sort of the impression I get from this TV show. Hunting around America for treasure and getting historical references is cool, but maybe make it different enough where we're not always wondering when Nicolas Cage is about to appear.
Well, they also said he was going to appear in the second season, but apparently the first season didn't go well enough.
What if they were just wishful thinking? They're like, if you stick around, we'll get him here. You just have to like us for long enough.
Yeah.
But why would you do it without him from the beginning? It's so weird.
Because he's a straight white guy.
I stand corrected.
Sorry, it's the truth.
But that's the thing. Like, then just make a different show.
Yep. They are going to be doing that. They're making a similar style, like an Indiana Jones style show with Brie Larson.
See, but then it's going to be like they made this show that's Indiana Jones without, I don't remember that actor's name.
Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford. Thank you. I feel like it'll have the same effect.
Yeah. I mean, but they say they're not giving it the same name, and that's what people have a problem with when you call it Indiana Jones. But is there a female analog to Indiana?
Indiana Jane.
Indiana Janes.
Look at like Montana Jane.
Yeah.
Like make it like slightly off. Iowa Jane.
Is Indiana a girl's name? Can that be a girl's name?
People name their daughters Indiana.
Okay.
Or like Georgia. Georgia's a girl's name.
Okay. Then we could have done that then. All right. And if you guys don't remember, Alec Baldwin, you guys talked about this on IRL, right? That Alec Baldwin got off for what happened on the Rust shooting.
I found they dropped the charges, I believe.
They're making a documentary on it with him, which is just creepy, dude.
So he took the most tone deaf picture too, with his like wife on his lap. It's like, I was so scared. Really?
Yeah.
You're scared.
He's producing a documentary on it.
The thing is, they sealed the terms of the settlement, the wrongful death settlement that they have with the family, and I just wish we could know, because Helena Hutchison's husband is now going to serve as an executive producer on the movie.
Oh man!
So like,
they got to him right away. He went out to lunch with Alec Baldwin like 2 days after it happened or something. So he reached out to him and like backed the money truck up to get that done. It says, while production is once again underway, they're starting the movie over again, and somebody posted a picture of him holding a shotgun upside down, like completely dismissing any and all rules of safety. really, really funny that he's just already back on set and he's just not even able to take it seriously.
I can't wait for this documentary to come out and him be like, listen, killing someone was actually quite traumatic for me.
Yeah, it was.
He's just the victim.
Or he's like, it's your fault that I shot you.
I agree.
Is what he thinks. It says, so it's being made by filmmaker Rory Kennedy. He's working on a documentary about Baldwin and the Rust movie. So he's like not only going to monetize the movie, he's going to I can literally see him being like, I need to make my money back for having to pay that family, and now he's going to make it back somehow.
Do you think people will go to this movie out of sort of morbid curiosity?
Yeah, I do.
Because I feel like I was saying Westerns are cool and we should have more Westerns, and then I went through my
not like this though.
And then I went through my Yellowstone era, which I still like, but this movie has gone from being just a modern Western to being a kind of true crime, like be a part of this case. Yeah, which it's very odd.
So it will be completed by the end of May, says the attorney.
Really? That's so fast.
Well, they had that Astroworld documentary out like 2 days after Astroworld. I don't even know how they get that stuff done half the time. They just have tons of people working on it night and day for a period of time. So that's super depressing. I thought that was depressing. Also, did you see the thing about the dragon catching fire at Disneyland?
No, what's up with that?
Okay, so it's this is during the final show of Fantasmic at Disneyland Park on Saturday evening, the dragon caught fire, Disneyland officials told CNN. To me, I think it's kind of Jesus being like, it's God telling them they're being wicked people. And maybe it's just bad news for them to be going the way Disney's going.
Maybe.
It says,
do you think, any chance it's an act of vandalism? Someone attacked the dragon?
No. I'm guessing more or less that it was just bad pyrotechnics. This is the last show. They didn't do all the safety checks because it was the last show.
But they do a pyrotechnical show every night, right?
Yeah.
But this one time?
That was the first time I heard someone ask if somebody attacked the dragon in real life. That was awesome.
Well, we get lots of firsts here.
Look, I just want to know if the dragon's okay. Apparently it's not.
That is a good question.
What did it do?
I don't know. To me...
Don't sacrifice the dragon for your political fights.
It is. That's a fair point.
He's a dragon doesn't mean he's evil.
He didn't get to vote. It's not his fault.
He didn't have anything to do with Reedy Creek, and he's not voting for those prisons that DeSantis wants to put in right over there by Disneyland.
Is this the kind of dragon that breathes fire and it got out of control?
Must be, yeah. It says Fantasmic is a long-running nighttime Disney show that the company's parks in Florida and California features special effects, state-of-the-art projections, superb pyrotechnics, and of course right there, that's the word pyrotechnics, right? It's very dangerous if it's not done correctly. All right, and I got not a serious discussion, but this one is kind of esoteric and I think kind of fun. Kim Kardashian is being slammed over a photo and, quote, toxic positivity. And I realized when you're a celebrity, you're just not allowed to act like a normal person. You're not. You're not in any way allowed to live a normal life. She posted a photo, a sunset photo from her high rise in Tokyo, or in Japan. It says, "Always look on the bright side of life, heart." And everyone's like, hey, shut up. Your life's always a bright side. And it kind of makes me think about, look, everyone likes to complain about celebrities because they're easy targets, right? Not realizing that there's plenty of evidence that shows us that celebrities commit sewer slide, as Mary would say, that they don't have perfect lives that are easy all the time. And in a lot of ways, they get no slack from normal people because everyone assumes that because our problems might be financially, you might have problems that are related to money, right? And just because their problems aren't money, you assume that they don't have any problems at all.
There's an ancient curse that goes like this. I hope you get everything you wish for. And, when you hear it, it's kind of weird, but I do feel like there's some wisdom to that.
In what way?
In the way that if you get everything you wish for and yet you still have to deal with the human condition of still wanting more.
Yeah.
But then it's what's next? Yeah,
I was watching an episode of something recently about this. I don't remember if it wasn't House of Cards, but a guy says, take it from somebody who's got more than enough. It isn't ever enough. And that's a curse for a lot of people, right? Once your expectations kind of change. Where I was 3 years ago, I was plenty happy. I wasn't doing well, but I was living healthily. By the time I'd gotten sober, I was financially not well off in any way, shape, or form. But your circumstances and perspective change, and a lot of times that's just the nature of being able to understand gratitude, and a lot of people these days have a hard time, in my opinion, have a hard time understanding gratitude. Therefore, they would never be able to see it from a celebrity's point of view, that they might also have moments where they have to feel gratitude.
Yeah. I tend to think that we live in a culture of envy and like covetousness.
Yeah.
And part of it is the reality is money doesn't make you happy. It doesn't make you emotionally down. It doesn't make you spiritually fulfilled. It may give you a certain level of security that takes away some of the stress that other people have to face.
But then you have different stresses.
It's just different. I worked at this boarding school for a couple years, and we had a person come in who was like there to like give a talk on respect. And she talked about how she'd grown up in a rough background and stuff like that, and was basically not privileged. She's like, people in this school won't understand that. And I remember the admissions director being like, you don't know the students who go here. Like, yes, it's an expensive school, but we give out a lot of financial aid and
scholarships.
Also, even if the students whose parents pay full money, like full price, that doesn't mean their home life is safe and happy for them.
Yeah.
And I think there is an assumption that because Kim Kardashian, who, you know, it's not like I'm her biggest fan. It's not like she does everything right. But the idea that because she gets to be in Tokyo when the rest of us have to be in our office jobs, you know, therefore she shouldn't brag about it in a subtle way by posting a picture. Like,
people are
that's
probably
not anything. That's not really a fair assumption.
And people are probably still smarting over the time when she was like, if you're poor, just work harder.
Get up and work.
Get up and get a job, basically, is what she said. I think there's an inability or an unwillingness in our culture to believe that celebrities have problems of their own. But what I've learned is that, you know, as your status changes, just new problems come up, right? Like the problems you had 10 or 15 years ago aren't necessarily more or, you know, better or worse than they are now. They're just different.
And no one lives a problems-free life.
Exactly, right? Like what was it, what were you doing 10 years ago?
I think I was living 10 years ago, probably living in my parents' hometown, working at a restaurant every day, trying to get my life back together.
So you had problems at the time. They were just different.
Yeah. I mean, I went into it was mental health. At first, it was like, how do I make enough money to pay rent next month?
Yeah.
Every month of my life, from the age of 19 to 36, 35, I was like, it's the 17th and I still need to make $600 and I don't know how I'm gonna. Dude, it's so stressful to have to worry about making money. I do agree with that. It's insanely stressful and distracting. Once those things are taken care of, it's like more about like society. I think about like, how can I help society? I'm not doing enough. I'm worried about the global economy.
If you're Kim Kardashian, you've got kids. You have to worry about raising your kids. And
you have to worry about your safety constantly.
Your safety. You have to worry about your ex-husband who's in the news constantly, which makes your life more difficult. Like there's a lot of things.
At any moment, your children will find your sex tape. Like she's got some struggles.
She's got things to worry about. And I do think in a lot of ways, toxic positivity is one of the more annoying things.
But
in culture,
do we think this qualifies as a form of toxic positivity?
That's what they're saying. I mean, that's what the critics of
think?
her are saying. Not really. I don't see it that way. I just see it as like the unique perspective of somebody that most people just wouldn't be able to relate to because we're not in her circumstances. But then what's she supposed to do? Only post things that both she and you can relate to, which that leaves like what, food? Like you can eat the same foods technically. Like what do you have in common with them?
Her image is beautiful. Yep. It's a really cool image that she posted. You know, always look on the bright side of life. Nice sunset. You're not going to see that from the ground, so she's up high. But I mean, that she's up in a skyscraper in, where was that? Tokyo?
Yeah,
Is that
that's what it said.
That probably people are like, come on, Kim.
I think of,
but she's not saying something negative. She's saying something positive.
Well, I think of toxic positivity as when people are so sort of bent on saying everything is great in my life, everything's totally fine. You know, I'm a grateful person, like just like outrageously pushing themselves to be so happy and so I don't know, other than the word positive, I'm not sure what to say, that they can't sort of look at their moments of weakness or maybe where they're insecure or struggling, and it becomes a way of avoiding painful emotions. You know, I think of toxic positivity as being something that people do to never show weakness, but in some ways they cultivate wounds from it.
Yeah,
I think it's because in social media there is like a insulting brand of anything that you could potentially like that can be good, but there's always like the lowest common denominator influencer that just makes it look terrible. Like for example, positivity. You could get one of these, you know, influencers that's just like, I manifested everything in my life and whatever. And by the way, I really big on manifesting, and I feel like some of the most successful people that are living today, a lot of them talked about like, I visualize it, I saw it exactly, and that's how it happened.
Just planning stuff though. Really?
No, I mean just an example that I can remember, Conor McGregor.
Okay.
When he won his first title, you could see him in the training room before the fight that he had, literally doing the step to the side and punching in the chin, exactly how it happened in the actual fight. And Jorge Masvidal, in his also famous moment when he knocked out someone quicker than ever, he was practicing that move. So I do think there's something
Do you think they would call that manifesting, or would they just call that training and practice?
So
and repetition?
Probably both, but yeah. Connor said he visualized it and he manifested it. But also there's, a hot rich chick with rich dads, she's like, I manifested this. It's like, no, you inherited it.
Yeah, not exactly manifesting.
That's not really the same thing. I do think that toxic positivity is something to watch out for, given that also because most of what you see online are the highlight reels of people's lives. Mm-hmm. And to be fair, some people just live more interesting lives than other people. Like, my life is not super interesting, so therefore there's not a whole bunch of stuff to really post about. I'm not traveling to crazy places and stuff like that. I think I actually had a post that showed up like that one time. It said like, I would post something here, but there's nothing to post because my life is extremely boring.
But that doesn't mean your life isn't fulfilling.
No, not at all. I live an extremely charmed life right now. That's the thing. It's just, but most of it's work, and the work, there might be a way that it could be translated into a manner that might be interesting to other people, but it's like, that's not really the point where I'm at right now to do that. I've got other stuff I have to focus on, and in the end, it's only going to translate to a few people anyways, so I just don't see the need to do something like that. Now, if you're traveling, obviously that's a little bit different. You're outside of the realm of your daily experience, but for somebody like her, every day is outside of the realm of the average person's daily experience, so they wouldn't really understand that.
I heard this. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
off.
No,
go ahead.
I heard this term a long time ago that described Instagram as a form of microblogging. You have this one picture at the time. Now you can do a bunch, and you put up a caption, and that's sort of documenting a moment in your life. You're kind of grabbing the snippets, and it's, for some people will even say it's like a photo album for them. Where you say like, oh, this is when this happened, and here we went to this event, and now I'm celebrating this holiday or whatever. And I think for some people, they feel like their life isn't worth posting because it seems so mundane, but it doesn't make it less special. It just means that like it's quieter in a way.
The best social media personalities find a way to take average things and make them interesting to watch. My favorite thing, I'm not even kidding right now. You know what I've been watching the most on YouTube Shorts lately?
Mormon mommy bloggers.
Basically, no.
But I'm serious. That's a whole category.
Brick Lane.
Nice.
Brick Lane.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, dude's like literally just a guy who talks about like brick.
That sounds like a euphemism for something.
I know, right? But it's not. It's
right. It's like,
bricks,
you guys don't understand. I have this secret hobby.
Or just any type of thing where you have a profession, cabinetry, things like that.
Oh, I love that.
People
Woodworking.
who are good at a very unique skill set that seems bland on the outset, but once you get into the details, because minutia is what makes life interesting, right? And they explain how, like, or the ones where like they're doing, like, they're cutting corners for rooms, they're cutting wood for corners in rooms, and they're doing all the math to figure it out, and it makes no sense to me, but I find it interesting because I like to see people be good at something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So they say here, it says, these are the people who are criticizing her. Again, I think these are lowest common denominator critiques. It says, one person says, that's easy about her quote. That's easy when you have millions of dollars, LOL. And another person added toxic positivity. And then somebody says, bro, your whole life is on the bright side. Did you really need to say bro? Like, isn't that kind of rude?
You know what? So I've been working in marketing for 10 years and predominantly social media. So I've had the accounts and I've managed the accounts of a bunch of people, and a lot that are prominent and get a lot of messages. So I feel like when you reach a specific level of fame, it's just so much input either way, positive, negative, neutral. It means nothing.
Yeah.
It's literally noise.
That's how, like, even for our channel, I can't read the comments. I it's too much. Like, it's like we'll get 10,000, like, because we had a video that, like, that short, like, we had a short recently that did really, really well, got like over 1 million views, and the amount of comments, I'm like, I'm not gonna read that. Like, it's just too much. And even if you find good there, are you going to respond? You're actually at a disadvantage there because they can comment anonymously, right? So once you do get to a certain size, and Kim Kardashian is obviously one of those people, she doesn't read any of that.
No,
if she says she does, maybe she does, but it's not like she has the time to read all of it.
Probably because it's really part of her business. She doesn't use social media the way we might use social media. It's a extension of our personal platform. It's part of her business platform, so she probably has someone who full time is logged in, checking her comments and responding to whatever and making sure her branded posts go up on time. Like it's not a direct connection to Kim the way people might perceive it to be.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that and have trouble realizing that at a certain, like, maybe there should be warnings on platforms that say, like, this account is not run by this person or this.
The only time I see that is on, like, children's Instagram accounts. Like, if you have, like, a kid who's famous on YouTube, it'll be, like, run by mom and dad or whatever.
That's another one that I'm not
like
a
another
huge fan of is, like, kids with Instagram accounts that their parents run. It always feels exploited.
I just can't imagine like turning 15 and realizing like, oh wait, all these images of me are on the internet.
Oh, that'd be wild.
Wild, but maybe not in a positive way.
No.
All right, we got let's get started first. But before we get started, guys, I actually have cringe of the day and cute of the day. But before we get started, guys, hit the like button on this video, subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already. We actually just hit 58,000 subscribers today, so thank you very much for that. Also, remember, if you do want to interrupt the discussion, super chats $20 and over, we will stop the discussion right there, read the super chat, and then I will do my level best, even in my foggy state right now. I'm kind of out of it today, to get right back on topic once we do that. So, all right, we've got first cringe of the day. You guys are gonna have to look over on this monitor over here. This video is insane. Ice-T posted this, who is easily my favorite account on Twitter. Ice-T is amazing.
Let's do this right.
Her eyelashes are like
fluttering,
not coming off. It's kind of shocking, actually. I'm not getting us copyrighted music there. Looks like it's about to come off there.
Dude. Does that happen?
Because earlier in the day he posted this. He posted the tweet. It said no woman has ever said, or no guy has ever said she'd be a lot hotter if her eyelashes were longer.
I don't think anyone ever says it, but it does change your face shape. I'm not gonna lie.
Gotta tell you,
we got a $20 one right there from Trucker and Tourist.
We do. Trucker and Tourist said manifesting would be like, I want this thing to happen to me. Visualization training is more like, if I do this, that might happen, or this other thing might happen, and if that happens, then I do this. One is active, one is not.
Okay.
I think that's a good distinction, visualization versus manifesting.
You know what? I think they come hand in hand.
Oh,
and
interesting.
I will give you the dorkiest example I can. Because I play card games, right? And sometimes I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And I have 5 cards in my hand. 3 of them can be activated right now. One is the desired outcome that I want the most. And the other 2 are just things that can happen. So sometimes, similar to life, you got multiple options and you have one that you want the most.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to put out your feelers into the world.
You don't think that's just luck then? You don't think it's just luck?
No, is what I'm saying. So you gotta, a lot of life is luck.
Yes.
So I guess that's right. But you minimize your luck by, I guess, taking small actions towards a direction.
What is the small action there other than just hoping that that's the next card you draw?
No, I'm saying like they're here. Like those are the ones you drew.
They're already there.
I want this one to resolve, to take effect.
Okay.
And I'm gonna use these other two to kind of prod my opponent and see what he would react to.
Okay. All right.
I found like manifesting, there's 2 ways you can do it with other people, where you tell someone, I'm going to win. And they're your opponent, and then they believe you, and then they're demoralized, and then you're more likely to win.
Huge.
Then there's the one where I was like an actor in college, and I was just starting out, and I went to the giant theater where I wanted to work one day, and I thought, I'm going to work on the stage one day. And I started practicing on the stage and rehearsing my lines on the stage alone with this giant in this giant auditorium and adventure. But I didn't always think that. I didn't constantly every day think I'm going to work at Stump Theater. I'm going to do it. It just, I locked it in. I let myself believe it was going to happen. And then I just kept doing my best with what is relevant in my face every day, dealing with tasks as they come. Don't get distracted by your goal. Just know that it's there. And then you start working towards it by nailing things in your
I think sometimes people feel like they don't know what they want, so they find manifesting or visualization overwhelming, right? They can't say exactly where they want. Whereas like when you have a clear passion and vision, like you want to be on the stage one day, you don't need to actively be constantly wondering. You're like, oh, that's where I'm going. Knowing that's sort of like ultimately end goal, you like can fill in the gaps between them.
Knowing your goal is a big part of figuring out how you're going to get there.
And, you know, in the role-playing game that has been my life, for me, one of the most important lessons has been nothing is a bigger enemy than a self-defeating belief. If you truly believe something that is aimed towards defeating yourself, like that's an unconquerable foe.
Dane must hate me. I miss your negativity about myself.
I mean, but it can be changed, is what I'm trying to say.
Fair enough. And I do actually have one more cringe of the day. This one is actually too good. I found this one last minute, guys. It's not even going to show up there. This is Disparu on Twitter found this from Vulture when they're talking about the writer's strike. The writer's strike of like the Writers Guild is possibly going on strike again. And they blame the 2007 writer's strike on Donald Trump becoming president. Like they say that it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the 2007 writer's strike.
Why?
It says,
What's the justification?
looming over Hollywood, it'd be the first strike since 2007, cursed us, with our now indicted ex-president. No, really, it's the reason The Apprentice stayed on the air and reified him into the American consciousness as a genius businessman and philanthropist. So they basically say that the writer's strike of 2007, 2008 is responsible for turning Donald Trump into the cult of personality that made him a president.
Well,
Thanks, Vulture.
That's a bold statement. I knew a bunch of those writers in 2000. I was in LA at that time. They would be pissed off to hear that they were the ones
their fault.
responsible.
Oh, I bet.
But I don't agree with that. You can't blame people 6 years ago for Donald Trump's political ambitions were relevant. You know.
Yeah, and I don't think it's like their fault, but of course, if for whatever reason there's a chain reaction of events, like that's
Now,
sort of
that's
different.
interesting. Writer strike causes reality TV to explode.
A butterfly flaps its wings.
I think Obama made him president. That whole what's it called, correspondence dinner, when he was like, "I'm something you'll never be, president."
Trump was like, I'm in.
He manifested it right then.
Dude,
Right then. He's like, I'm going to be president.
I don't know if manifested, but he got pissed off enough to where he tried. You know.
All right. And guys, I do have cute of the day for everyone. I'm going to show a couple here. The first is from Trucker and Tourist, who we just heard from earlier. He says, Charlie, you can see these over here. I never put the pets on all the computers. Charlie is 7.5 and Olive is 3.5. Those are adorable.
Oh, those are cute.
Hi, doggies.
Those are very adorable. Oh my gosh.
Look at that pooper.
That
I
is
like these dogs because their hands sort of point out.
very
Are those
adorable.
Dachshunds? Is that what they're called?
Dachshund?
Dachshund?
Is that what those are?
DACH.
Those are very and then
Those are so
Andrew in the comments says pop culture crisis.
Pop culture.
Oh,
Get it?
that's a good one.
That's amazing. All right, we got a couple more.
I pitched having one of the company dogs sit in today. It was rejected, I will say.
That would go over well.
Kyle Wren on Twitter
Just
says,
so
"This is my
cute.
girl, Olive." That is adorable as
What an
well.
Are
angel.
people sending these? Is
Yes,
hashtag pop culture crisis a thing?
PCC pets.
No, I like pop culture crisis.
Well,
better.
they're not all dogs. See, there's a cat right
Oh.
there.
Oh, okay, I understand. We want to be inclusive.
Dusty, yes, we're being
Dusty.
very
What a
inclusive
handsome
here.
cat.
Hey, buddy.
This is from Mr. P on Twitter.
Are they sending us like detailed information about what they like?
I
and
asked,
how they spend
well,
their time?
originally they were sending me Instagram, and I was like, I need you to do it with a hashtag on Twitter and give me the names of the pets.
Name,
So-
age, favorite food,
Exactly.
personality traits.
Exactly. So
That's a
there you
great
go,
photo,
guys.
This is a great segment.
Yes, it's here to make everyone's day a little bit brighter. After I make you cringe, I want to make you go aw as well.
And now we need you guys to send over your social security numbers.
Yes. No,
and
don't
credit
do
card
that. Don't
numbers
do that.
at Pop Culture Crisis.
Yep.
Private information.
Guys, remember, if you'd like to submit for PCC Pets, you can hashtag PCC Pets on Twitter and tag me or Mary or the Pop Culture Crisis account. Tag me or the Pop Culture Crisis account. I don't know if Mary's going to be checking that. I'm checking it. I check it. I need my daily dose of adorable pets.
Brett is devoted to your pet pictures.
I am.
He sees you and he loves it.
Exactly.
Brett, would you get a pet if you could?
I don't know. I mean, I see Bucko all the time.
That's
so
true,
I
that's
saw
true.
Bucko. In fact, I took yesterday as a chance to get a bunch of Bucko photos.
Bucko content.
And I posted Bucko on Twitter and a different Bucko picture on Instagram. So I was flooding the internet with Bucko pictures yesterday.
That's
Nice
hilarious.
It's amazing.
What about you, Ian? Would you get a pet if you could?
Oh,
I know
I was
you
just
take
thinking
care of
about-
Bucko, but but would you get one?
If I did, it would be a cat, and it would be a female cat, I think, because the only problem I have with Bucko is he likes to urinate inside. He's kind of doesn't really care. He's kind of indiscriminate. So it's always like keep the door closed, make sure you have an eye on him. And if I would like a cat, I want to like take my eyes off the cat.
Yeah.
Especially having kids, I don't want to worry about a cat pissing everywhere.
Yeah.
And when I was little, we had a dog. We had like a little beagle, but I was little, like 1, and it would jump up on me.
So it's kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, a dog for a little infant might be too much trouble.
Yeah.
So
I think they're aware of when they're smaller and weaker.
Yeah, I think dogs do get into like it's a puppy. We must
Oh,
figure it out.
Yeah.
Half the accounts I follow on Instagram are all like cute animal accounts.
Same.
That was how PCC Pets started. It started as like, here's cute videos of animals. Now it's turned into something so I can get everybody else who watches the show to share their pets with us.
Brett wants the benefits of pets, but he doesn't want the responsibility.
Exactly. I don't have to clean
He
up
wants to be
after them.
emotionally involved in your pet's life, but he does not want to have to buy it food.
Exactly. Well, think smarter, not harder.
There
All
we
right,
go.
guys, we're going to get started. So we've been talking a lot about AI lately as it pertains to voice actors, but today we're going to talk a little bit more about it as it relates to music, because that seems to be where a big part of the gripe is with a lot of people, because for a musical artist, your voice is your moneymaker in a lot of ways. But Grimes, if anybody here knows Grimes, that is the ex-wife of Elon Musk. Or were they even married, or did they just have kids together, Hannah Claire?
They were never married.
Just had kids.
He's been married a couple times. They had kids, and also their relationship is unusual because at times it seems like they have broken up, but also one of the like timelines that he had, I don't know if you remember this. So they have X, the little blonde boy, and then she did an interview where she subtly revealed she had a child by refusing to talk about it, but also having her baby with a nanny upstairs, so the reporter could hear the baby crying and was like, "Do you have another kid?" And then she sent, like, it was this weird thing. She's like, I don't want to talk about it. Also, here is a voice memo with the exact way to pronounce my daughter's name. So I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah.
There's a rumor that he, like, had kids with someone else during one of their breaks. Like, Elon
were
Musk and
on
his
a
family
break.
tree
He's
is
just
getting
laying
very
pipe.
complicated.
All
My
across the
favorite
country.
tweet from Elon Musk of all time was, I love having a big family. I hope you all do too.
Yeah.
how do you pronounce the daughter's name?
I don't remember, because it's another, and you know, their
And then, as far as I'm concerned, it's not my responsibility because he made it difficult. Therefore, it's not my problem.
But their daughter was born via surrogate. So I think they weren't together, but Elon Musk is like, I will procreate and repopulate the world.
Yes.
Like, he is putting his money where his mouth is.
He's the Nick Cannon of the tech world.
Yes.
Is it Exa Dark Sidereal Musk?
I have no idea.
I think they're calling her Exa or something. I'm not really
Exa,
sure.
okay.
Well-
or something with Z. I'm
Yeah,
not
there's
sure.
Grimes.
Z Musk. That must be X.
Wait, can I say one more thing about Elon
Go
Musk
ahead.
and then I'll move on? There's this rumor because Taylor Swift and her boyfriend are broken up. There was some unvetted source was like, she's dating a an older man who's much more low key, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's about to have a Musk baby.
People
That is the dream. He likes tall blonde women who are successful in their field. Who else would he date but Taylor Swift?
All right. So Grimes, she has her own thoughts when it comes to AI voice. She says that you are free to use her voice without penalty. She will simply split the profits with you 50-50.
How do
I mean, you
afford-
say that, and then they do weird propaganda with your voice, and
That's the first thing that I thought of. She says, I'll split 50% of the royalties on any successful AI-generated song that uses my voice, she tweeted, sharing a headline of how the fake Drake and fake Weeknd song, Heart on My Sleeve, had raised questions about the industry. We listened to that last week. It's actually quite accurate in its depiction of his voice. And I'm not going to lie, I've been going through I'm in my Kanye West AI music era, where it's literally just him performing songs that he doesn't perform.
Like what? What's the best one?
I've got one pulled up. I don't know if we're going to get copyrighted for this.
Because it's not anybody's, really.
This is Kanye West singing Mr. Brightside.
Oh, I love that song.
There you go.
It started out with a kiss. How did it end up like this?
Bro,
It
what are
was
we doing?
only a kiss. It was
Incredible.
only a kiss. Now I'm falling asleep. And she's
okay.
calling a kiss.
There are moments that it doesn't quite
I know.
sound like
I
him.
know.
you
really,
know?
I feel like people say this, and I'm such a sucker for AI. Every time they show me an AI chick, I was like, "Oh my god, look at her! She's super hot." It's like she's not real, Dane.
Like I think
but are
it
you
sounds pretty good.
Sounds
just like him.
It sounds good, but he doesn't really sing.
He's not a singer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been listening. He's got this. He's got "Beautiful Soul" by Jesse McCartney. He's
Oh my
got
God.
Amazing. Play
Call
it.
Me-
Play it. Play
He's
it.
got "Call Me Later" by Carly Rae Jepsen.
Another
And I don't
classic.
know who
Call
made
Me Maybe? Maybe.
Call Me Maybe. And I don't know who the guy who made this is an account called UpDogX, and there's a bunch of them.
Of course.
Just doing the Lord's work over there.
Exactly. He's got like 14 or 15 of them, and they're all just Kanye West doing AI music.
God.
And just imagine, like this one has, how many views does this one have? This one's got 60,000 views. This guy could be making some money if he made a Grimes song that did that well.
How
right?
do you enforce this? Does she like?
I have
she
no
has her
clue.
team flag a video that has her AI voice in it, and then they contact him and we're like, cough up a check, buddy.
Well, one of the things she points out is that she doesn't have a label, so there is no legal hiccups that way. So how would
doesn't
she?
have a label.
She
I thought
apparently
she was
doesn't
a
have
musician.
but she is. But she does. She's not tied to. She's not signed to a music label. So if this happened, she'd be able to do it without having to worry about a label being like, "No, we don't want you doing that," because it's not always going to be the artist that's telling you to take it down. Most of the time they will, but it's the labels that are going to lose the lion's share of that money, right? Like they're the ones that are benefiting the most from you making that music, right? Just like a book publisher makes even more than the guy who actually wrote the book. They just give you the advance and you make your money on copies, but the publishers make a whole ton more. And I think what's going to happen is that the most industrious of young artists are going to learn how to make stuff like this work for them. Right? They're going to be the ones who aren't tied to record labels, that aren't tied to legacy companies. And they're going to, like, imagine that you just say, go forth and make music of me, and then lead to profit.
What if people do it at like a concert? How does that work? So if I am amazingly talented and I suddenly become a pop sensation, and then I'm like, but I want to have AI Grimes,
Perform.
do a solo or do a verse on this song
I don't know.
at my concert. Does she then get a cut of my concert tickets?
I mean, most
sales?
of them wouldn't get even if she was there in person, she wouldn't get a cut of the gate. She would get a flat rate, right? She'd get a fee for whatever she did for that performance.
Does she list her performance fee?
I don't
as an
know.
AI
I
person?
feel like deepfakes is 9/11 for culture.
Yeah, in a
This
lot of
is
ways.
the moment of our lives that will change it forever, and there's no going back.
This is my other favorite. I found this one on Instagram the other day. I've been listening to this one a bunch. This is Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and Joe Biden sing "See You Again" by.
Good.
That one's really good. That was really good.
All day without you, my friend.
This
Can I
sounds good.
tell you all
Hold on,
about
you gotta hear the part
when
where
it's
Trump talks.
He seems vaguely.
That
But
was Obama.
there was a guy on.
you in days.
This does sound like.
It's been a long day without you, my
And the guy
friend.
says he'll never make music
Can
of
I
actual
tell
artists,
you
only of
all
presidents.
about it when
He will never do it to an
I
actual
see you?
musician.
I like when they use JFK.
We've come a long way from where we began.
Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
That was not a strong for me.
SpongeBob comes in at the end too, and plays.
Oh my
Biden's kind of crushing it.
But
The thing is,
When I see you again.
I
What
hope we're
if
gonna get
instead-
copyrighted on this one. I just know it.
what if instead of debates, they had to learn a choreographed song?
I'm down
and
for
do a
that.
duet. I feel
I'm
like-
totally down
Dude,
for that.
I just don't know where we're gonna go from here as a species. Like, truly, we've for years been saying we're in a post-truth society, but it's like nothing is believable
Well,
anymore.
like, there's the really creepy one of Joe Biden saying racial slurs that we will not play here.
There's-
I'm like, eventually what I think is going to happen, or what I would hope would happen, is it's going to force people to think more critically. Like, you're going to have to be
Yeah,
like,
good luck with that.
You're going to have to be like, okay, is it really plausible that Joe Biden has a thing where he says the N-word
Well,
a bunch?
there-
No, it's not.
There was this YouTube channel that would splice president's speeches to make these songs,
Yeah.
and then it was their actual words. And there were moments you'd be like, when
Oh,
in the
yeah,
world
no,
would he say the word baby? Like,
Mr.
don't remember what it's called.
Zikos or whatever, Maestro Zikos.
and he
or
did
whatever.
like
He does-
Obama singing.
I've got a bunch of his Trump ones. Yeah,
There were tons of them, but it's like the cuts of their speeches. For me, it starts to wonder, like, that is splicing together tiny seconds of things they've said in speeches to make this song.
When
Whereas
did Donald
this
Trump
is,
say baby? Like,
I mean, like,
He's got a great
Obama did at
one.
one point, or there was one of Obama going, "I love you back," and they were able to cut that and use it for some song.
there's a great one of Donald Trump singing "Blinding Lights" by The Weeknd.
Right.
By that guy. That's fantastic.
But now, dude, so now there's fake OnlyFans
Yep.
girls getting millions of dollars.
Yep.
Like AI generated hot women getting millions of dollars.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that
You
this
do?
is society's issue right now. Yeah, being grown up in the 90s and the 80s, I mean, I really had very little hope for people, for humanity. Just felt like, I'm going to get rich. I'm going to try and I'll be the president and then fix things. And I was like, oh, there's a war machine. We're all doomed. And now it's like, you know what? This is just amazingly awesome that we can create people to do anything virtually. It's just so freaking powerful.
I kind of like that I like your more positive spin on it, because what I see most of the time, you and Grimes seem to be the only people that have a positive spin. I have this other
Dude, I'm
article
horrified.
from
Like,
Khalid saying like, look, you're screwing ours here. I feel like the most general take from people is fear.
I think that's natural. A lot of new technologies bring fear. A
Yeah.
lot of times people
Like-
be like, whoa, hold
Yeah.
on. The car is too new. We need our horses.
I will say some of mine is fear-based, because you can't put these genies back in the bottle, as they say, right?
That's what
Once you
they-
start using AI and it's woven into the internet, there's no real solid way to remove it from the internet, because part of it is, if great, Grimes consents to this and she says, great, if you pay me you can use my voice, but what if you don't, right?
Yeah.
What if you don't want people using your voice? You are stripped of the right to try and stop it. I mean, I know this is, we talked about this story for so much, but when that girl was really upset about her image being used in AI porn,
Yes.
yeah,
Is that what it was?
QTXC
Right.
or something.
Yeah.
People were like, this is what she gets for being on the internet. And it's like, no, she did. That's not really fair. Like, she posted she streams online fully clothed. She did not ask to be
Turned into this. Yeah.
And I think that is what concerns me, because on the one hand, I do think we shouldn't live in fear of new technology. I say that as a complete technophobe. But this one doesn't seem like it exists in a way that gives people an option to opt out.
And I asked the chat today, guys, there's a poll up on the chat that says, is AI created music art? And so far, 65% say no.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Well, how would you define it if you wouldn't define it as art? I guess
Yeah.
you can put that in the chat. What's an
Or if you,
alternate?
make your opinion known. 65% are saying no, they don't consider art.
Is
One
it
of the
science?
popular takes that I saw was like, it can't be art because AI doesn't have a soul. So therefore,
neither do artists. Like, what the hell?
Do the redhead ones have a soul? I have no
Whoa,
idea.
don't you bring the ginger issue up.
I just
That's
did.
too spicy for
I
this.
I was kidding. Look, I freely admit to loving listening to Kanye West play a bunch of songs that he didn't actually play, but I also understand that that's not him, right? There's a benefit there of knowing that that's not who that is.
You know that because you went in searching for AI dupe
I mean,
covers.
I might have
But if
searched
I
AI
just
created.
randomly was like, Dane, look at this crazy video of Celine Dion performing with Biggie Smalls, he'd be like, whoa, crazy.
Incredible.
You know what I mean? But that never happened.
Yeah.
So I am now introducing a completely false reality. And even if I'm doing it because I'm like, I didn't know they performed together. That's so cool. I'm a huge fan of both.
And we're
The reality is that you're not giving honest information.
And we're beyond tribal right now, and so people, they're basically the way they take information is if my people say it, I'm more prone to believe it, and so now we're hostage. Like, when are we ever gonna know? When are we ever gonna know if the deep fake version is just the same as the regular version with 2 added words?
Yeah.
And those 2 added words changed to
The context of
yeah. Sorry, we got interrupted. See, I stop
You
immediately.
got it right
Nice.
there. Hannah Claire, read the $20 one right there.
Yeah, it's who's it from?
That's Danzatastic.
Oh, hey, Dance-tastic. Master of Puppets sang by Trump when the ultimate crossover. Also, hello, Ian. What's your take on Monero? Monero. Is it worth starting to mine it? I love the I love that episode. You guys sang the song on the guitar, and it was pretty awesome. PCC for life.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thoughts on Monero?
Monero's like a privacy-based cryptocurrency. I think that you're not supposed to be able to. It's untrackable or at points, but I know that it was being delisted off of different markets because of that. Diversify. So if it's something you believe in and you're following the project, you're reading about the news of the developers and the white paper and stuff, and you believe in it, go for it. But that's a decision you got to make for yourself. And honestly, it's probably financial advice I couldn't give you anyway if I wanted to.
Yeah, we would have to add a disclaimer in there.
Yeah, I'm not a financial specialist.
Yes. So go on.
So if the difference between the real video and the fake video is 2 words that change the entire context, and you're just gonna believe the one your tribe is presenting.
Whichever one already agrees with your sensibilities.
Correct. So it's people are just gonna become a more intense version of the radicalization that they already have.
I think that people are going to develop a muscle in their brain to see it, like kind of like how we used to not be able to see the color blue.
But Uncanny Valley, that they'll be able to spot it.
Yeah, they said that humans couldn't see blue, the color blue, until like 2,000 or 3,000 years ago.
What?
When we started to
I never
evolve
heard
the
of that.
ability to see this new color in the spectrum, like our brains are evolving. You can see.
I know that.
How did you
wider
see the sky
frequency.
then, do you think?
It just didn't register as blue. Probably looked green.
I know that
before blue
women
existed.
see. I know women see colors differently. Evolved from a mother being able to tell when her child is sick.
Yeah.
So it's possible that we're going to evolve the ability to detect if it's a machine or a human just by perceiving it.
And then one day we'll just have Kanye West and Donald Trump do all the music for everyone all the time.
I feel like. Sorry, go ahead.
No, my theory is that it's gonna be like done by software, and there's gonna be a software that's gonna recognize that this is the original and something got added to it, and we're just gonna have to run all media by it.
I think sometimes the advent of technology seems fun, but in this case, I wonder about independent creators and smaller artists. Like, are you know how they say like there'll be a pop star that a label has just decided they're going to be really big, and then you hear their music everywhere, and so they have this big following, but they are sort of artificially propped up. If you're able to create music that's
Bad Bunny.
falsely created by
Dude, that guy's a cult.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case, but like the same kind of hype that comes around him. Like if I were to be like, oh, here's Donald Trump's new album of cover songs from whoever. Sorry, mate.
$20 chat right there from Daniel.
I'm not good at this because I don't want to stop talking. Daniel says, I want to give Ian a shirt as a gift. How can I send it, and what size shirt does he wear?
It's a medium, and you would send it to the P.O. box on timcast.com /contact.
We're still doing that?
Yeah, the P.O. box is still there. It doesn't get picked up all the time, so there's a chance it'll get returned to you, but I have been collecting stuff from there personally.
Okay. All right. Go finish your statement there.
I think I was just saying, if you could buy a Donald Trump sings the Beastie Boys album, would you go and support a smaller artist who maybe needs it more?
Sabotage. Yeah. No, I don't know. And I just think that what's going to end up happening from the music side of it is that there's going to be a niche of smaller, of like influencer artists who are going to end up encouraging people to make covers or make their own, versions of their music, songs with them in it. And the way they can basically be like partner sharing, right? Like you just end up splitting the revenue with the people that create the music, and you can create like a huge, group of people that will create for you.
Yeah.
But then they'll have to become less worried about what the message of that music is, because who knows whether it's going to be music that you support the idea of. And in that case, is it even really them? It's just their voice, but it's not like it speaks to who they are as a person, because they are not the ones making the song.
Yeah.
They're just lending their voice to it. Just like I don't...
Unknowingly. Are they actually lending their voice to it, or are they just being made to lend their voice to it?
Yeah, exactly.
I think Grimes did the right thing by getting ahead on it and saying, okay, before you guys start ripping me off and making thousands of songs in my voice, I'm taking 50% of everything you make.
She probably called Elon and asked for advice.
Yeah.
She's like, pick up some
he's busy
bread
with Taylor.
on the way home, and
No
tell
way.
me.
He's like, I love Taylor Swift now.
You never know.
Like it could be that the artists that get in on it early are the ones that get used the most.
Yeah.
And then they kind of set the standard as like, are you going to use a Grimes voice or a Kanye voice? And then you've got these like 50 different choices, because those are the 50 people that got in early.
Though
but then the whole being twisted to say stuff you don't believe is crazy, man.
Was she famous enough for that concession to be worthwhile?
Maybe she thinks that'll help her become more famous, because if she's one of the readily available, I know if I use her AI voice, I won't get sued, people, then people are like going to say, okay, we'll use Grimes.
Yeah.
It's like sort of becoming a voice actor without having to do the work.
Right, but my thing is like you have to get access to the information that she is conciliatory towards those things. But if you don't have access to that information, you're still going to want to default to the most buzzworthy, like I think Taylor Swift, Kanye, Drake, like those are the people that are going to get, I don't know, replicated infinitely.
Oh,
God. Damn it, dude. I got freaked out.
I had a couple of comments. See, I did read a couple of comments of somebody who just really hates the crisis parties. And I said, well, Too bad. It's my show. And I
stand by that you should make a crisis party just the sound dolphins make when they talk to each other.
We could do that.
Oh, that'd be good.
We could do that.
Get a bunch of AI voices
to make
doing
dolphins.
crisis parties.
But
yeah.
then in the future, dolphins become self-aware. It's like, you were just saying slurs and dolphin.
Dude, I want to get
could.
AI Eddie Vedder singing the 12 Days of Christmas, like in a full Pearl Jam.
He has the voice
version.
for it, right? Like
Yeah,
a
it'd be
very
so insane if it
distinguished-
was
a
like
very-
2 guitars at once, or they had 3 guitars, two guitars.
All right, Hannah Claire, we got some super chats there. Starting
Yeah,
at the top.
let's do it. This one is from, let me bring up my screen.
Goofer Trooper.
Goofer Trooper. Brett, did you watch Berserk this weekend?
I'm sorry, man. I have not started it yet. I spent the weekend watching the Sarah Connor Chronicles. Actually, it's funny because I meant to bring that up because it's a Terminator-based series during the AI discussion, and there actually is a period in that show where the character of Cameron, which is a Terminator that's sent back to help John Connor, it's played by oh my gosh, man, I'm having one of those days where I'm just Summer Glau. Summer Glau plays her, and they end up showing this scene where somebody's watching her from another room, and she's doing ballet in her room, and the idea is like, why would a Terminator? Because she had to use ballet to get close to somebody earlier in the show. Why would she continue doing it in her room? She's a machine. She doesn't know or care about dance, right? And the idea in the voiceover in that segment is Sarah Connor saying, like, once they start to understand art, they'll cease to be machines and they'll just be us, right? Because they're indistinguishable from humans anyways. And if they start to learn how to create art, what distinguishes them? We wouldn't be able to say, how do you quantify the soul? Right?
This is the definition of art is skill acquired by experience, study, or observation. And I think these artificial intelligence are acquiring skill through observation.
You gotta write them anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not made from nothing. I think this is a very interesting debate because I feel that I guess I'll just call them analog artists, like people that by hand or by stroke of the mouse that create art. They have a huge issue with this is AI art. But okay. If literature is art, and if coding is writing, how is it not art?
Yeah.
That's my argument. But every time I say that to a friend of mine that's an analog artist, as they call them, they get freaked. They just don't comprehend what I'm trying to say. Or they simply disagree, and that's fine. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with disagreeing.
That's a good point. Literature, written works. And then you're saying that computer code is also a type of written work, which I mean it is.
It is.
Sometimes I think it falls into the distinction of fine art versus art. That sounds strange, but if you go to college, you'll have the School of Fine Arts, and that's where you get the sculptors and the painters, people who are working with an in-person medium versus, the creative writings are in the English department. People who are, in theater are slightly different. I wonder if in some ways we're just having to redefine the definition between art that is created and meant to be enjoyed in an intellectual space, versus art that you can is tactile in some
I'm
way.
just saying they created the prompts that led towards that, right? And so the argument that they're saying against is that, you created the prompts, but it generated it. And to that, can't I argue, okay, well, you're a graphic designer in a computer. You're not mixing the textures and the elements to create that shade of blue. You're just putting RGB codes. Are you really an artist? You know what I mean? Like, what is the level of technology that we're okay with? Yeah. That does the break off of what is art and what isn't.
When I'm making music on my computer, pushing buttons and going deet doot deet doot, I don't feel very artistic. When I'm singing and I can feel the vibration in my body, I feel very artistic. Yeah. But that doesn't mean it's not art. It just feels much more artistic to use the body as for the performance. Yeah. But I mean, that's what the fingers on the keyboard are too. You're using your body for the performance.
Regatan says, Ian, watch Jesus Revolution. You were in the movie! !
Jesus Revolution.
John A says, Tuck is out at Fox. We were talking about this before the show.
I'm telling you, he needs to switch places with Don Lemon. Don Lemon needs to go to Fox, and
Wouldn't that be funny?
Tucker needs to go to CNN.
That'd be
awesome.
Hilarious.
If they were like, we just want to swap. We want to mix things up.
They just want to try something at another place.
Trucker and Taurus says...
we already did that one.
Oh, yeah. Poop, I guess.
Yep.
Says, "We are the Corn Clan. We are the one." And then there's a pointing emoji and some eyes.
Okay.
And let's do one more, and then we will move on.
Ryan Kennel says, "Pup culture crisis. Hail." And then the praise hands emoji.
Yes, it is Pup Culture Crisis, guys. All right, we're moving on. I'm going to leave that poll open till the end of the show. If you guys want to vote on whether you believe AI art, AI music is in fact art or not, make your voices heard in there. All right, let's talk about Disney and replacing Kahayu Machado as David in the live-action Lilo and Stitch. The story itself for him is kind of boilerplate, right? He did something stupid. I'm not really interested in what it means for the movie because, it could be any movie, right? But the idea here is that he said some slurs. He used a very bad word on the computer a while ago, not recently. And there's recently been a debate about the casting of both him and Sydney Ogdong as Nana. In the show, right? Or in the movie, right? And they're calling it colorism. So the problem here is that I think Disney just wanted a way out and just found this as their way out. I don't buy for a second that Disney, that does the due diligence that it does on all of their products before they come to market, I don't buy for a second that they didn't know this stuff existed on his social media platforms.
What is it exactly? So
here, I'll put it on screen. So he basically, I don't know if we're going to get in trouble for it. It's not said, it's just written, right? Okay. So he uses the N-word in a playlist on Spotify. Yes. And then also he said it here in updating his profile picture on Facebook. And I'm more impressed that as somebody his age uses Facebook. It seems very boomerish for somebody that young. Right? And I don't buy that Disney didn't know that.
Someone typed 2 words on the internet.
Yep, and you lost a job.
That's complete inanity.
Yeah.
Complete inanity. And so this guy looks like he's actually a good actor too, just by looking at him. I don't know why I think that, but he looks like he's super talented.
At what point does the fact that a great portion of the population recognizes context still and is not offended by this matter?
I mean, a corporation doesn't care about context, though. That's the problem. The corporation doesn't care about context.
It's going to take a huge corporation that doesn't care about the backlash that keeps going and can prove that although there might be an influx of like boycotts and cancellations of advertising, that they're going to weather the storm, get the best actor for the role regardless of their sordid past, and make the best movie ever seen. And then people will realize, okay, we can work with people that have made mistakes in the past.
And eventually they'll have to realize that mistakes are going to be a part of everyone's life, because before you made all your... I've been recently watching a bunch of people talking about, they're like, look, I was so glad that the internet wasn't a thing when I was making all my mistakes. Now you're just growing up in an age where the internet has been omnipresent during all of the bad decisions you've ever made in your life, and you're not going to be able to get away from that.
I used to hear stories, older actors be like, oh, in my day... like, I can't even think about a specific example, but just people being saying, oh, when I was growing up, it was okay to talk like that. And I recognize now things have changed, or people saying like, oh, well, we love our grandparents, but also they grew up in a different era and they don't know better. Yeah. I think in some ways, this is a demonstration of people's relationship with language is not universal. Some people feel the impact of these words maybe more seriously. And I don't know that it impedes his ability to be an asset to this project. In some ways, I think the fear of being exposed for having this guy who did this allegedly bad thing is what drove them to make this a bigger issue. And
I don't think it has anything to do with it. I think it's because they want to. There's been a backlash about him not being the right color. And I think
so they're just looking for a reason to
I think they were just
him?
looking for... I don't buy for a second that they didn't know about this stuff beforehand. They pay whole departments to go through people's social media profiles. You're getting a role in a very, very big project for them, right? They're going to do their due diligence to make sure that you're...
Would this bother you? Like, is there some equivalent that would make you say, well, this guy's in this movie and I won't go see it because he did this thing?
No. Like,
really?
It would be like somebody insulting Polish people and me caring. I don't care.
Well, it's because you're Czechoslovakian, right?
I'm Polish in Czech. Oh. Is there a slur for Czech?
don't know.
If there is, I don't care about that either. But that's just me, right? Like I don't
Right.
like it doesn't bother me. But I get what the company's doing. I don't think it has anything to do with it, though. I think they found out that there's been this intense backlash about the casting of him and Sydney Ogdong because they don't believe them that they're the right shade, because that's what we're living in now. It's no longer just about race. It's about your actual skin tone.
Yeah, is this guy like a Pacific Islander?
He's Hawaiian, but he's not. But Sydney Ogdong isn't, right? So she's not Polynesian. She's Filipina. Like she's a Filipina, but she's born in Hawaii. So that makes you.
But that wasn't enough.
Yes, to them that's not enough, right? So, and just imagine having to be in an industry now with all of these things, and I think that in a lot of ways both sides do this, right? The people on the other side of the aisle will say they want people that were that look like the people that get casted in them, right? Or a lot of people say you can't hire straight actors to play gay characters. That's
Right.
still a big one that people argue about. And both sides have their own complaints, where we've been talking about Cleopatra being cast as a black woman recently because that's a historical
Right.
figure. And both sides have their own complaints that they register in this department.
Well, and wasn't there was an African American actress who was cast to play Anne Boleyn,
Yes.
and it's weird to me because with the Cleopatra argument, people are saying like, well, you don't really know what Cleopatra looks like, and our pictures of her show her as being very fair, but that wouldn't really be accurate. But then with Anne Boleyn, they were like, well, just suck it up. It's okay. Like, you guys shouldn't be so tied to.
Yeah.
I think it's more dangerous that there's not a universal stance on this issue.
There
and
isn't a
I
universal
like
stance.
to not have like super hard regulations because I think creativity needs a certain amount of liberation. On the other hand, you can't say that
Not with historical figures, I don't think.
Well, it's like you can't say two of these three things are bad and then be like, but actually, if you disagree with the third that seems to fit in the same
Yeah.
category, you're the problem.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem consistent. It means you're just laying traps for people to fall into.
And that's what it is by design for a lot of the people, especially the people that are terminally online that are complaining about this stuff the most. They're traps for people to give them something. And the corporations, to be fair, they give in and then give these people immense power.
But how does that help? Like, I mean, again, I'll go back to the fact that Eno's an actor. If you're an actor and you get this big break and you're excited about it, but also at any point this company could turn on you for some things that theoretically you're responsible for, like the language used online, you are responsible for.
Yep.
Or the color of your skin not being dark enough. Like that seems like you would never feel as though you're secure in your position. It
They
seems
probably
like the
don't.
ultimate toxic work environment.
They probably don't feel comfortable.
I did, and that's why I left Hollywood. A big part of it.
Like, would you feel comfortable in something like this where that aspect of who you are played such a big role?
I would give it my best if they asked me to play a role and then they're like, but he's not. And there was all this social backlash about he doesn't look right for the role, but they're using him. I would still just do my best work. But I kind of just decided, screw the Hollywood model of like, you're an actor, keep your mouth shut. I go where like, you're going to hear from me about what's going on via internet video and my own networking channels. And then if the company wants to work with me still after that, I'll work with them.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm in a privileged position, but I think this is the mentality that young actors should be taking because it's so easy to make your own stuff now.
Well, it's really funny, too, because there was a lot of discussion back and forth when we talked about the Jenna Ortega thing where she basically rewrote lines because she felt like stuff that was written in the script wasn't in the character of the Wednesday Addams character. So she felt that it didn't fit, and so she changed stuff on the fly. And we got split very close down the middle of people saying like, look, it's not her place to do that. It's the writer's place to do that. And other people saying, good, Hollywood writers suck anyways. Like, screw them. Like, we'll like maybe she should change it if she understands the character better.
I think the writer gives up the rights to the script when they sell it to the network, and then the network, if the producer is comfortable with people changing the lines, they're allowed to change the lines.
Yeah. And in that case, it was a producer. The context of that article was a producer complaining about her doing that, but he wasn't the producer on the show. He was just a veteran producer.
Oh, he's just like someone in Hollywood
who just had an opinion on the fact that it happened. Right?
I think it's great. In movies, you got to let your actors change the scripts. In theater, it's huge. People are huge. Like, it's the writer's word is God in the theater. If you said is instead of as, you got to go back and make sure you fix every little letter. It has to be exact.
I mean, that really depends. I mean, there
or
are writers who have very distinct styles who aren't going to want to see that messed with, right? Because it's going to change the context of how things are said. Now, the show Justified, actually, Graham Yost, the guy who was the showrunner for that series, encouraged actors to take liberties with the lines, but it was done in a collaborative environment where they were allowed to try something new to see the character evolve.
Yeah, in TV and film, you want your actors to change the lines. As long as they're saying what you want them to get said, it doesn't matter how they say it. It just needs to, you have a story that needs to be told. As long as they can make that idea relevant in the moment, then it doesn't matter if they come into it with a well, did you know that, or what you're thinking it doesn't.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's all.
I was just gonna say, I wonder if I think of Parks and Rec as the example of this. They talked about a lot how the actors on set would ad-lib stuff or change it so that as they played these characters, they had an impression of what the characters would do, and typically it seems like that was pretty successful for them, and in fact influenced sort of the development of, I don't remember her name, but Aubrey Plaza, she plays April Ludgate. She said at one point there was a scene where Andy Dwyer is playing his guitar and people aren't super into it, and she makes this comment oh, I like your band, I like that, and then eventually in the next season they get married because the writers were like, oh, we see what she is now seeing playing this character. I wonder with this, I mean, with the guy who's getting taken off, he doesn't even get the chance to play the character. With Jenna Ortega, she did spend time as the character and get to develop a sort of sense. I find that when you are reading a script, you've probably more experience with this, but when you're reading a script, if something sounds slightly awkward, it feels awkward in your mouth, you can't carry the emotions that are behind it correctly, so you may have to alter things slightly. It doesn't seem like Hollywood gives everyone the chance to portray the character. You know what I'm saying? Because in this case, they cast him, decided he wasn't right, he's gone. But other people are sort of darlings and given maybe privileges that other people aren't.
Yeah, I don't know why we don't give more credence to that. It's so this is me. I know that I am not physically the character, but I am its interpretation in the world, and I am how people will experience it. I know you and I disagree because I feel that the medium, the person that's being the medium, should have an enormous say in how it's being said, because they took the script, they read it, they're in the scene, they're acting it out, and it should bear some consequence that as they're acting it out, these words or this whatever doesn't ring true. I understand that it could get kooky and the person can be like, well, now this plays about chocolate pudding. Yeah. It's no, it's about, the whatever.
The problem is there's so many layers to the storytelling when you make these types of things, all the way down from script writing to when the editor gets involved. And remember, a lot of dialogue ends up getting cut from a scene anyways, and it gets turned into a lot of times a completely different story. So an editor or somebody who's going off of the material that they're reading, sometimes it's just about having enough material that they can cobble together what needs to be done without it, while it still makes sense. And I think that for the script writer, if also the other example somebody gives is look, maybe that dialogue is important because 2 episodes down the line, in an episode you don't have the script on yet, it's going to matter that they say that line.
Mm-hmm.
I think in theater, you're very reliant on the words that are being said because you don't have much of a spectacle. The set is usually obviously fake, and they're standing there in the same spot, and they're trying to make it seem like they're traveling through different locations and stuff. So you're very reliant on having the story told exactly the way it was written. Whereas in movies and television, the scenery tells the story a lot of times for you. It doesn't, the music in the background that comes in, there's music on theater. It's very rare. So you have much more liberty with the way you say words in that medium.
Do you think a lot of this is just somebody like a kid like this losing a job? It just has to do with the fact that it's a corporation and it's just a company the size of Disney, and they just don't want to take any risks.
Yeah, it's a bitter pill to swallow when you feel like you hit the big time and then you realize that the big time's crap.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's happened to me before.
Well, and it comes with compromises, right? If you want to work on this big project, then you have to submit to the machine.
No, but I think the most messed up part of this is that, he doesn't fit, so let's ruin him socially.
Yeah.
How about
we
that?
don't know for sure that's
no,
why.
that's just that's what I'm positing is the
and we love a
whiffs of
conspiracy.
that.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's go to Super Chats there.
Okay. We have one for Dane from Justin Glenn.
Gellin?
Who knows? Dane, the only thing that exceeds your limitations are your excuses. And there's the peace sign emoji.
I agree.
Reggaeton says, the AI voice is nothing new. Look up Hatsune Miku? I don't know.
Thank you.
Brewmaster Monk, AI can't feel emotion, so it can't make art, only remix. And doesn't Grimes believe in magic? But there's a K at the end of magic.
Yeah.
And she's willing to be a side piece? Cringe.
She's a weirdo.
We could do a whole show on me speculating about Elon Musk's
Yes.
personal life. I just have to say it. I feel like he is entering a really interesting phase of like children over everything. It's over 9,000 said, my favorite ending to an episode of Monk was when he got so traumatized from being hugged by a naked man that he walked into the ocean fully clothed, like he didn't want to live anymore.
I mean, that was the best part of Monk, right? Was watching him just basically deal with the fact that the world exists around him.
Yeah.
And he has to basically constantly submit himself to this dirty, unclean world that just gives him hives to think about. And that was the entirety of the show. Watching people come into his house and mess with his stuff is like, you feel horrible for him.
Right, and credit for Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah.
He does such a good job, and I also can't see him in anything else because I'm like, but why aren't you being nervous about why things aren't neat?
Yes, why are you not being odd right now?
One of my favorite points of bonding with Brett has been the fact that we both love various USA Network shows.
Yes, we are basically the world's biggest USA Network
If we ever have to
propagandists.
stop with the pop culture, I say we just go into exploring the many twists and turns of the USA Network.
Dude, I could do that. Let's hold off on the rest and we will come back after.
Okay.
All right, guys, we're moving on. So, J.K. Rowling, I say trolling now because it's my easiest way to say Rowling without screwing it up and saying Rowling like I always do. She is back in the news because people are very mad at her because they're making a new Harry Potter series. And look, I have to respect and love a person who just refuses to be bullied. Who just doesn't let them control her in any way, shape, or form, and she pushes back constantly. And it's really amazing that it's like we live in a culture now where all the people who claim to be standing up for themselves are the ones who are part of the machine already. So it's like they're saying, oh, I'm standing up against the mob, when everyone knows that the mob is coming from the other direction. The mob is not coming for you. It's like the people saying, resist. And we all know that they're part of the machine. When every Fortune 500 corporation is out there promoting your cause, you're not the resistance. You just aren't. And she seems to be dead in lockstep with most of their views, but it's this one issue that just seems to be a
makes her an outsider.
That makes her an outsider. It proves that they don't accept any amount of deviation from the narrative. But she mentions this in regards to her, the comments people have been making about her new show. She says, dreadful news, which I feel duty bound to share. Activists in my mentions are trying to organize yet another boycott of my work, this time of the Harry Potter TV show. As forewarned is forearmed, I've taken the precaution of laying in a large stock of champagne. She will not let them bully her.
Let her live
and
her
they're
life.
so mean to her online. And all she does is basically say, like, maybe women should be allowed to be women and we shouldn't be abusing, the fair sex.
I feel like she is Harry Potter. Like, obviously she wrote the guy,
Yeah.
and Harry was never intimidated. He was always like up against these crazy, challenging situations and scary things, but he never allowed himself to become intimidated. I don't think ever in the books. I've only read the first 5 of 7.
I mean, there's internal monologue that shows him scared.
That's
Scared, yeah, but was he ever allow himself to be back down? Maybe.
No, that was my biggest critique of Daniel Radcliffe, that in the movies he was always so sheepish. But Harry in the books was so emotional and raw and kind of like upset all the time,
He would stand up to things that were bigger than him.
He was upset all
Yes.
the time from book 5 on. But yeah.
Yeah, he does hit like an emo, the world's against me.
He's
rage
insufferable
machine.
in book 5. I don't care what
That's
anyone
'cause
That
he's
was my
16.
favorite.
He's
That's
a
because he's
teenager.
16. He's like, he's just going through it.
He's becoming an adult.
It's very insufferable. So she also had this. This was my other favorite. This tweet says, this person, she says, used to think I wanted just a name and dates on my gravestone, but vitaperative gigatroll would really make me stand out in the cemetery. Has anybody ever heard that word before?
No.
Vitaperative?
Oh.
That was the first time I had, and a bunch of other people had said that as well. They said that was They said that was the first time they had heard that term. It means bitter and abusive. So they're saying she's a bitter and abusive gigatroll. And of course, only somebody with in a monumental amount of self-importance uses that in a sentence. And then is just like super proud of themselves for saying it.
What does it mean?
Bitter and abusive.
They're just playing that game where you hand out hard words and you have to use them
In a
during the day.
sentence.
They're trying to
get
combat
points.
the writer with larger words.
Yeah. We got a $20 one right there from Darth Doza.
Darth Doza says, Hannah Claire, abbreviation HB or HCB. What's the longest brain dump you've done from the brain to the mouth? What? Oh, a rant. You seem to have quite a bit of running around the those up there. Brett, Dane in parentheses #1 guest, and Ian, have a good one.
Oh yeah.
You're the #1 guest today, he said.
So are you HB or
Get your heart out,
HCB?
Ian.
I think technically to be correct, it would be HB because Hannah Claire's all my first name.
So
we would treat it like one word.
H.CB.
But I use HCB
H-
because I feel like I have to remind people like I go by Hannah Claire because it's all my first name.
Wait, is there a there's a space though between Hannah and Claire, therefore it should be HCB.
Look, the best advice I could give to people naming children is that we do not live in a culture that likes a double name. Some cultures do. This one does not. My whole first name is Hannah Claire. I have a middle name, and I for years thought I had a dash, a hyphen in between Hannah Claire to make it function as one word. So on documents, whatever. Some documents don't let you abbreviate names or put a hyphen in names. And also, sometimes your parents tell you when you're 12, actually, no, there's just a space in the middle of your name.
Yeah.
So I actually love my name, but it is a weird challenge.
So the second part of their question, what's the longest brain dump you've done?
It's the longest you've ranted for.
Just do you ever guys have those nights where you like hang out with your friends and you are like suddenly inspired to like remember that you feel really passionately about some small issue? I had the chance during COVID to like spend a fair amount of time with one of my good friends, and it was like that constant. Like I think I talked for 2 hours about various like interweaving conspiracies about Shakespeare or something like that. Like
About Shakespeare?
Yeah, because I like my whole, when I was younger, I was like, I'm going to be a classically trained Shakespearean actor. That's my life's goal.
Wow.
And I
Really?
got back to it. Yeah,
Is
I
that
was,
for
like,
real?
crazy passionate about it. I like went to Oxford, like and studied with a theater troupe as a teenager. And,
What?
like, yeah.
What?
And it did
How are you
happen.
just learning this?
Oh, it can happen.
Well, maybe the time is still coming because whatever. So that I feel like that's the thing. I couldn't say I timed it. The other part is like, I'm a girl. Maybe you guys can do this too, but I regularly spend 4 hours a night on the phone with one of my good friends. She lives in a different state, and so we just catch up. And I don't know if that's a straight rant all the time, but I will. She'll be like, so tell me about what's going on. And she's someone I feel like I can go into depth with. Yeah. So maybe one of those 2 times. I don't want to spend too much time ranting in the middle.
What's your favorite play
Meta.
My favorite play?
from Shakespeare?
Oh, from Shakespeare, Twelfth Night, maybe.
Yeah, I was in that. I played Feste.
No way, that's awesome.
That was like my second play I ever did. I was like 16.
That's so fun. I feel like when I was in high school, my high school didn't really have a theater department, and so that was one of the challenges. You know, and I wish more schools were able to work out programs like that, because I think even though I never went on to perform professionally, I am grateful for the experience for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, it's just a little bit about me.
I guess Cass Castle needs you.
Yes.
They get me as a news reporter, and I sit very tensely.
You could do
We'll
it.
have to
You
turn
could
you
do a
some crazy
Shakespeare episode.
artist.
Oh my gosh,
right?
it'd be so funny.
So do you think that is there another person you can think of who's somehow both an uber feminist or some analog thereof, right? Like she agrees with them in 99% of things, but they just won't allow her to live down this one thing that she disagrees with. I can't think of anyone else that's really in that case that stands up for themselves that much.
Naomi Wolf was pretty significant. I mean, she's been on IRL. She was a really significant thought leader in the feminist movement for a long time, but she did get ousted at one point. I mean, now she's very against vaccine stuff. And
I mean, I'm thinking more along the lines of like celebrity from the world of like entertainment. I can't think of another analog in entertainment.
My point is just that like these kinds of groups evolve over time, and even though they might have someone who lives at the center or feels like a strong representation, as the group's values change, they leave someone behind and they splinter off.
Yeah.
I think of it as like branches on a tree.
All of this because they said that they want to make a faithful adaptation of the Harry Potter series, which is funny because I also saw this article from a couple weeks ago and I just remembered it, and we never ended up covering it. And it just says Harry Potter reboot reportedly eyeing a more diverse cast in the films because, of course, that they're not going to allow it to be what it was.
I stand by this. When you are wanting to make a remake of a mythology, like The Little Mermaid or Harry Potter, wouldn't it be better for our world if we looked at other cultures and said, how does your culture talk about magic? What are the myths in your cultures, and made those into Western mainstream movies? You know, why do we recycle something and put in people of diverse backgrounds to try and compensate? Why not go into those cultures and really get to know them and explore the inspiration that's there?
Yeah,
it's harder to market them.
That Star Wars was basically this. I think it was the Seventh Samurai. It was a Kurosawa. I think it was Kurosawa. Is that who did the? But George Lucas was heavily inspired by Japanese movies from like the 50s, 60s, 60s, and 70s maybe. And the whole story of like Luke Skywalker is from. Is it the Seventh Samurai?
Yes.
I don't know. But my thing is, I'm pretty sure most people absolutely agree with what you just said, but I think these companies are banking so hard on the rage reaction that people get from the trailers is like, oh, The Little Mermaid's not originally black, and that they get upset, and that in itself becomes like a free news cycle, that they're just farming upset people on the internet for free shares and content. And I mean, I keep, similar to how peace will never come until it's profitable. I feel like this, until we find a way for these people to understand that not demonizing your fan base is profitable, we're gonna keep at this forever. I feel.
Yeah,
it will go on forever.
I just think it's a missed opportunity. Like, I think of, is it the 5th Harry Potter Goblet of Fire? 4th. Okay. Yeah. I have read them all. I cannot remember what order they go in. But Goblet of Fire, we have these 2 other schools arrive. One is this all-girls school in France. The other one is Bulgarian, right? Like, you could make a spin-off show, and I know those are both European countries, so maybe it's not diverse enough, but get to know how magic is perceived in that culture, research, like, French mythology around culture, go to Bulgaria. Number one, especially in smaller European countries, this could have a significant economic impact.
Doesn't matter, though, because they've worked very hard for a long time to classify everything as white as one thing rather than diverse cultures.
I mean, even then, I just think these are examples of ways you could get into seeing something else and creating original content. I know that sometimes it's because the fan base for Harry Potter is there, so you're trying to use that, but I'm sure they would be like, oh, I'm curious to see what that school was like. I want to see magic in other places. But they just elect not to out of laziness, it feels like.
I think Haitian French, that could be an opportunity.
Could be so interesting.
There you go. That actually be really interesting.
That'd be awesome.
Right there. That'd be cool.
Well, the Francophone sphere is so huge that you really could do a lot with it, but they elect not to. And I just feel like that is the biggest disservice to these cultures that they're claiming, like, oh, we want to help you, we want you to be more represented, but instead of going back to your native ancestry and sort of exploring your culture, we're just going to shove you into this other world. Like, that seems tasteless.
I think there's what's desperately needed is better scripts, more writers, more script writers, because like as simple and as innocuous as it might seem, is there's just not enough of them. Every time I talk to somebody about doing a movie,
I think there's plenty of really good scripts in Hollywood. I think they just don't. They choose not to do them.
Why though? Why would they?
Because they're new. And if we're saying better, we're saying new. And if we're saying new, that means there's no IP value to it already, meaning that they have to start their marketing from point zero, and they don't want to do that.
What were you saying though?
Whenever I talk to like people in our sphere about doing movies, the response is we need a script. We need a really good script. And it's not like there might be scripts, but are they really good? That's the question. And they know that The Little Mermaid's a good script because it did well in the past. So they just reuse the good stuff, shove some other race or gender into it for profit and for ease, I think.
You guys, because you're marketing and you were in Hollywood, you might know more about this, but are there venture capital firms for small writers? Like, I only know about small productions getting recognized at film festivals. Is there a way for people to say, like, I know Hollywood won't take my script, but I want a chance. How could you seed my movie?
Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are doing that right now, where they're taking on newer writers in different scripts.
Project Greenlight, is that what that's called?
Yeah, I don't remember.
But are they like in the same? Like, are they gonna greenlight the same stuff that Hollywood already would?
No,
greenlight?
they just like granted that they starred in the movie. They just made a movie based on the completion of getting the Air Jordan made, the Nike shoe, about the process of getting that shoe made. So more esoteric than your average project.
They made a show out of Project Greenlight. So it's a show about finding a script. Is that right?
They're like, we're getting it really meta.
Because I feel like there must be.
It's like Shark Tank.
There are people who have these scripts, but it's like the gap. The people who have the money don't know how to get the scripts, and the people who have the scripts don't know how to get the money. So how do you build a channel that's not relying on Hollywood to get them together? Like, do we have a new age Hollywood that sets up in like Nashville or North Carolina?
We send them to the Daily Wire.
I mean, but
Daily Wire needs scripts, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I dislike this. You know, like the Daily Wire is the only solution.
Well, right now,
Babylon Bee is
not
another
even.
one.
Yep.
I'm more along your lines of thinking, where it's like, hey guys, you know, maybe accept that it's not gonna have killer ultimate $3 billion lighting, you know, but you can do some good independent work with your friends.
you absolutely can. The technology is so much more readily available now than it ever was before.
Like Clerks 1 was really, if you go to like film school, like they always, or a film class, they always talk about that movie and how consequential it was. We need the Clerks of our generation. We need that kind of media. And I know a lot of it is like YouTubers like farming
that is
drama
but a lot of it is also, you're right, like we could use more people making those smaller independent features.
Absolutely.
But a lot of that stuff gets made, and it's just being made by people that already want Hollywood contracts, right? So they're going to make stuff that they feel will get them jobs in Hollywood further, which doesn't really strike a chord, nor does it really inspire new types of storytelling, because they're going to want to tell the stories that they think are going to get them jobs.
I mean, if you want to be a lowest common denominator person because your objective in life is to belong in a group that you aspire to, then you know what, you'll probably achieve and then be disappointed by it. Yeah. But if you are trying to do art, and if you want to convey a message in an era that's particularly like voiceless and messageless, you know, I think it'll reverberate more than you'll ever know.
Okay. And I do want to ask, do you think J.K. Rowling is in the right with most? Like, I have a hard time disliking anybody who gets pushback from all sides and stands their ground. Like, it's kind of human nature, right? Like when people start to push back on you, or when people start to give you crap, we are kind of programmed to like, look, screw you. I'm not going to bow down to what you're telling me to do.
The reason I don't have a strong opinion about what Rowling is going through is because I think a lot of it's been done through text. I haven't seen her do like a verbal documentary or like a video where she says, this is what I actually think. I think she's made some comments in text that may be taken out.
Yeah, but she started indirectly. I think we're about to reference the same thing. She started a women's crisis shelter in Scotland where she lives, but it only offers service to biologically female women.
But is it like women that have been abused by men?
Women who are abused or who are attacked and need some sort of like, kit or police evidence kind of thing. And it's staffed by women. There are no male staff members, but also a male who identifies as female couldn't go there for service. That's
reasonable. I used to volunteer at the battered women's shelter with my mother when I was like 12 or 13, and they were all essentially fleeing abusive male relationships. So if you had a trans woman that was a man that had transitioned to a woman in there with them, that would have been complete insanity and would have debased every woman in there.
The National Health Service in Scotland, the clinics that they have or the centers they have do allow trans identifying men who identify as women to go to these places. So what J.K. Rowling was saying was that she's creating an alternative that's privately funded. She doesn't need any government money. She's funding it herself, and it gives women who absolutely do not want to be around a man because of safety or fear or whatever. They don't have to be in that position because the government is already aiding. Because the LGBT trans community said, well, there are people in this position who need that kind of service, and they're like, well, the National Health Service already provides that to you. Did
you see the thing where she was making fun of the Canadian transport minister for the video of them walking in high heels to protest femicide? It's so cringy.
I saw the video. I didn't see her criticism.
Yeah.
And they're so smug and proud of themselves. That's what I can't deal with these people. It's like, guys, I just walked in high heels today. I just solved sexism.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't even move it an inch.
And wouldn't that tell you, like, if you think you solved sexism by just walking in high heels for one day, you alone solved it,
then
it
probably
day, isn't a real issue. It just doesn't make any sense.
The people that talk about awareness are the worst people in the universe.
Yeah.
Like, we are, I constantly like say this, like, we are aware, like, famine's bad. Are you guys aware of that?
Famine awareness.
I just want to make you aware. I don't want to do anything to help fix it. I just want to let you know.
It's bad?
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Oh wait, awareness just helped,
I
guys.
guess I'm aware now.
But it's like
No actions needed. Just that you know.
Just
it's
now
enough
that I
for
know,
me.
we'll be
Well, it's
fine.
my job to complain
Yes.
about the lack of solutions, not come up with actual.
well, there we
solutions.
go.
I wore high heels in a play that I did where I played a woman. I mean, I think that's bringing more
What was your
value.
character's name?
Vera,
Vera.
this long blonde wig. I talked like this, so it was like, was I a
Where
woman or
is the
was I
video
a
of this
trans
play?
woman? I think there's pictures of it on the Sacred Fools website somewhere out there from Los Angeles,
I've been-
2007.
That must be
I've been
cool.
suppressing
Yeah, it
my
was
cough
awesome.
all day, and it almost just came out right there.
Yeah.
Goodness.
All right.
But rather than be like, look at me, I just did the role.
Yeah.
And I did it the best I could. And I feel like that did more to bridge the gap between men and women than,
Well, all
Tell me
Rowling
what
I agree.
said. All Rowling said was keep us posted on how many femicides this prevents.
Seriously.
She's right. She's absolutely right.
I think people like the photo ops is the problem, and
Yep.
I appreciate that she's saying like that's not enough.
Let's do the super chats there. We got a couple.
Yeah, we have a bunch. Bobcat says most of these systems people are mislabeling as AI are just statistical models giving you an aggregate of Reddit or whatever they were trained on. Sorry, I can't read today.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, either way, if it gives me Kanye West singing "I Kissed a Girl" by Katy Perry,
It's all
I'm
for it
down.
once.
I found that picture of me in the dress if you want to see
Yeah.
it.
I
do wanna see
It's
it.
search the internet for
Send it to my own Slack.
Okay.
The Slack should be right there. Just send it to me myself, and I will open it.
Brett wants to be in control of this. Daniel says, I want to give Ian a shirt as a gift. How can I send
Oh, you already-
Oh,
you
yeah, I
already
read that one. Sorry. There's someone named Hannah's Simp. She's commenting a lot.
I don't know who
I'm
Hannah
gonna
is. I don't know who Hannah
It's
is.
Hannah's plural. So if you know a Hannah, this guy
He's a fan.
is excited about a Hannah. Have you heard anything about the incubation chambers that'll grow children? What do you think about it?
Ian, that's all you.
Yeah.
Well, I saw a video of it, but I think that they were all fake. That was still just like computer generated CGI.
Hope so.
It was like a big warehouse of little
Wow,
gestation chambers
that's
and babies
terrifying.
on them.
Terrifying. Also, I don't think that would work, but I don't know. All of the Hannah's Simps also says Shiba dog shaking his body from right to left, surrounded by red hearts.
I can on my side here. It just shows a picture of a Shiba dog. Actually.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
What a very
That's the
oddly
prompt,
specific
yes.
comment.
I sent that photo over in
Okay.
the pop culture.
I
Slack.
like your interpretation of it better, though. I like you reading
I can't
emojis.
see that screen when I'm reading off this comment holder. Drive-by commenter says, if everyone rushes into AI black box and people have no shared experience or truth due to crafting their own, it could lead to an aftermath of the Tower of Babel. No common understanding. I think that is one of the fears. I mean, we talk about this in terms of elections. If you say, I saw this video of a candidate saying something terrible and you are convinced it's real, it shapes your opinion of reality when someone else who saw another doctored video of the candidate saying something excellent has a different view. I think that's one of the. Do you remember in school when you had to do research papers and they were like, you have to cite original texts?
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to not just cite someone who read a quote from the Federalist paper, but you have to find a copy of the Federalist paper and read it. I feel like that's the fear with AI. It's gonna remove us from the original source.
Is this the photo, Ian?
That's it. I'm the lady in red.
You look gorgeous.
So we
Thank you
should
very
play the
much.
song "Lady in Red" right now.
It was very natural.
It's very
Yeah,
good.
That was fun walking around in high heels. If you have never done it before, guys, I'd give it a roll. It's not easy.
Do you miss this kind of performance? Because I feel like when we were in Austin
yeah.
and you were on stage, you were like alive.
Oh my gosh, that night for like 12 hours after that performance, I had a smile on my face. The next morning, I woke up and I was like, I'm not even trying to smile. I'm just this is invigorating me. Happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much.
Do you wish you did like theater locally or more stuff like that? Or like, is it sort of hard because it's a different space that you have to live in?
The downside of theater was that it was one and done. I'd spend like 2 to 6 weeks rehearsing for it, and then we'd do like 3 performances, and I'd never do it again. And it almost like I forget what it. Whereas TV, it's recorded forever, so we don't even rehearse that much. We give it everything, and then it's like forever. I'll be able to reference the artwork. So that's why I got into TV and film. But for music, that's my theater now, is music. It's songs that I've memorized, so I can always play the same show forever. I'm never gonna forget it. That I like that more now. But I do like live theater. It's pretty fun. It's just a lot of work for a little bit of reward, I felt like.
You know what? I was in theater in high school, and I felt kind of the opposite of you do. Like, I kind of always forgot. I have some fun memories, but very little fun memories of the actual play. But I would see the rehearsals as like gym for dorks.
Yeah, dude.
And I loved it.
I met the girlfriend of my dreams there when I was like this nerdy 19-year-old. She was so hot. And like she just liked that I was a good actor. So it didn't matter that I was a nerd because I was good at something. And we would hang out for 4 hours a night, you know, like 6 to 10. We'd all be rehearsing. There'd be like 10, 20 of us. And you'd meet all the popular kids. And then they invite you in because you're a good actor. And they're like, then you have all these new friends. And we all have a shared purpose of creating this amazing piece of art.
I think that's the interesting thing about friendship generally. Like when you have a shared purpose or you come from, it's not just like you all sit next to each other or you have lockers next to each other, but like you are working on this craft. You have something that you're all shared and passionate and interested in doing. It cultivates a very strong bond.
And it's great because you want to make them look better. It's not something where I want to be the best. I want them. The better I am, the better they're all going to look.
Right.
So like, it's like the reward of doing good for others is also part of that.
It's an ensemble.
Yeah.
Because if one person's having a great night, but the other person's struggling, like you are all actually struggling.
And yes, and like when you are getting started, you get like the director is usually someone with experience. So everyone gets to learn from this experienced person who kind of becomes like, it would be one of our professors, but then they'd become one of our friends. And like I would hang out with my theater professors and we'd play like Axis and Allies, the board game together sometimes. So like there's this like ability to like, you kind of feel like an adult. This is like for young people that are acting like in their 18, 19, 20 years old. When you start to work with adults and you realize that you're peers, you become peers with people that are much older and experienced than you, more experienced than you.
Let's read one or two more and then we'll move on.
Okay.
Hannah Simp has more to say.
Hannah's plural simp says, are there new action movies that'll be good to watch?
Did we read the one from Drive By Commander? Oh,
yes.
We did. Okay, we did read that one.
Commenter, right?
It says
about the aftermath of the Tower of Babel. That's
yes. Okay. All right. Action movies. Well, I don't know what's. I mean, everybody liked John Wick 4. I say if you never saw Extraction, go watch Extraction. That is on Netflix because Extraction 2 should be coming out, I believe, next month. And it's supposed to have a 17-minute one-take scene, a 17-minute action scene with no cuts at all. I mean, there will likely be cuts in there. It'll just be well hidden. But yeah, it's supposed to have this very, very incredibly done scene that I'm excited to see.
We just did a trailer for Bad Blood, the movie that Wesley and I and Aaron are creating. Well, actually, it's Wesley and Aaron are the producers on this, and Taylor. And it'll be out soon on YouTube. It's part of the Cast Castle show, but I would like to parlay that into a
there you go.
Feature length or a 30-minute grindhouse. We were just talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
I want Dan to be the villain or one of the villains.
Well, you got your practice playing Bane Dane.
Bullying you?
Bane Dane.
Every day.
Bane Dane.
Bane Dane.
Bane? Both.
Bane? I don't know.
Bane. Yeah. Let's do one more and then we will move on.
Okay. Why Not Bill says, Dane, I'm convinced Jeff Probst is AI now.
Probst?
Maybe, dude. He's the host of Survivor.
Oh, is he? Okay.
And he's got so much Botox.
Oh, he's not looking like himself.
It's jarring.
It's like that thing with we did a thing the other day where Kylie Jenner said she's like, I didn't have like facial surgery or anything like that.
Technically, if she just had Botox injections, she's not lying.
Yes, she's like it's not lying, but you're not telling the truth either.
You're not. You may not have had surgery, but you definitely altered your face.
I would love to meet him though.
Jeff Probst?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, dude.
Just out in the wild. Where would you run into him?
On an island.
What's the most likely?
What island would you
On
run
an
into?
island in the middle of a challenge.
Vanuatu.
At the grocery store.
All right, we're gonna move on, guys. We got a couple more things to discuss here. One is that Twitter kind of has become a hilarious place for chaos. I don't just say that now because I'm on Twitter, but they restored blue check marks for several celebrities, including a bunch of ones that were dead. And the most over the top of articles framed it as like Twitter gives Twitter blue to dead celebrities. So Chadwick Boseman has a blue check mark and says he has Twitter blue.
Norm Macdonald
Paul
got one.
Walker, Norm Macdonald, a bunch of other ones. And it's kind of just a up in the air thing because everyone's got their strong opinions on Twitter. And over the weekend, I said, look, the celebrities, they're not mad that they have to pay $8 for Twitter. They're mad that you can pay the same $8 and get the same thing.
Just as special as them.
And be just as special as them. They miss the status symbol. I think Elon's a genius in what he's actually doing. He's like, well, if there's only so many celebrities in the world, right? If I make all of them pay $8 a month, I'm only going to make so much revenue, right? If I verify them. But what if I get normal people to pay me $8 a month?
Well,
just to not be celebrities.
See, I like it because it was totally up to Twitter's discretion to decide who got the check mark, right? Like, they had to decide you were significant and deserving of the check mark, and that seems very strange. I know it's a private company and blah blah blah, but like,
it's subjective.
I don't want to live that way.
It's super subjective,
and you can't really apply. You have to like sort of know someone and hope Twitter notices. Whereas, you know, I don't know if any of you guys pay for the check mark.
No.
I do.
See, if I could,
not for the check mark. I pay for Twitter Blue. The check mark's just I don't
part
even
of it.
care about
What
the
else
check
do you
mark.
get from Twitter Blue?
I can upload videos.
Oh,
like
okay.
10-minute videos.
Because I can only upload up to 2-minute videos on mine. Also, you can edit, right?
You edit your tweets,
Maybe I'll start writing it off as a business expense and then I'll get it. But I just don't see the need personally. On the other hand, if you felt like the blue check mark gave you some sort of power and influence in a sphere, I could see why you'd freak out when it was taken away.
It was really funny watching Bette Midler have an absolute psychopathic meltdown over the fact, her and Charlie Sheen melting down over the fact that Elon took their blue checks. But they gave, okay, so here's a list of the celebrities that had passed away that got blue check marks. Chadwick Boseman, Kobe Bryant, Anthony Bourdain, Paul Walker, Barbara Walters, Bob Saget, Kirstie Alley, Michael Jackson, and
Kirstie Alley died?
Yeah. Yes.
Damn.
6 months ago.
Oh,
a while ago.
pretty recently.
Whoa.
And I don't know if this is the type of thing where they're saying that maybe their estates paid for the blue check marks, but that doesn't seem to be what they're saying, because other people are saying that they still have their blue check mark, and they're like upset that they're worried that people are going to think they're paying for Twitter Blue.
Oh my God.
They're like, I don't like Elon. I swear, I don't like him. I didn't pay for Twitter Blue. I don't like him. Okay.
Well, Elon's account too has a symbol that says like, this account is affiliated with Twitter, which I actually really like. I feel like they should start putting that everywhere.
Is the Kirstie Alley? I'm going to go look at her blue check mark now. Is it the one where it says they are subscribed to Twitter Blue and verified their phone number?
Yeah, and that's the problem. People were saying that they got it when they didn't give them a phone number or or pay for Twitter Blue, and people are like, how are you doing this? And that's kind of weird.
Do you think it's a glitch?
No, I don't know.
You think Elon is just trying to psych everyone out?
Could be.
You don't want the check mark. I
mean, actually, I don't know about that. I don't know if he would do that with dead celebrities.
I was wondering if it's like, you know how on Facebook, if someone dies, you can put their page as in memoriam.
Yeah.
So no one can hack it, or maybe you can. I don't think so. But you can still write on their wall. Like people that I went to high school with, like people will say like, "I remember you," or like, blah blah, thinking of you, kind of thing. In some ways, with these check marks for deceased popular people who are on Twitter, it's a way to keep their tweets up so people can use them, but also no one can like suddenly produce a copycat account that like comes back to life and starts tweeting.
Yeah, and that's a problem, right?
But then you definitely didn't verify their phone number.
That's the problem, because it's almost like it's like not slander, but like libel. If you go on someone's public account with millions of followers and say that they paid for something they didn't pay for and gave a phone number to something they didn't give a phone number to, you're kind of like misrepresenting your client.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. I mean, I thought the ones with the dead celebrities could be their estates, right? Like somebody who, because that's a question we're going to have to ask ourselves now. Like, what's going to happen to all of our social media profiles when
you have to have
die?
a plan for it.
I already put the setting, delete it immediately.
But how do you not like?
Is it like do you have like a dead man switch attached to your your
did
pulse?
the setting?
So I had to do this on Facebook recently. So there's an area where you put someone to basically report it, the fact that you're dead, and if
they tell Facebook you're gone, they'll take the page down or do something with it.
Yep.
Do you get to choose?
You can also be like, if I'm dead, Brett can do whatever he wants.
Oh, sweet. Sign me up.
Which I won't.
Sign me up.
Facebook is making you write a social media will for its platform.
Basically.
But that's interesting because how many people don't actually have a will?
I don't have a will and I have a social media
And
will.
not having a will is a big deal because then if you die, the government gets to decide what happens to your money.
My memes go with me is what I'm saying.
You're taking them with you.
Yeah.
You're taking them with you.
All those Harambe memes.
Yeah.
Straight to the grave.
So not only that, Twitter is getting backlash because they verified, they gave the gold verification. Do you know what the difference is between the gold verification? That's company verification, right?
I think that's when you're news.
Is
when you're news media,
like your gold. It says they gave a verification to a fake Disney Junior account that used racial slurs. This
I like that one better. I don't know.
Like, if I had to choose between one of the two being a troll, it would be this one. But even then, I don't really think so. It says it appears at the site. It says it comes days after the site stripped all verified users of their blue badges, unless they opted to pay for the subscription service, and they mistook this for an actual company. And it's saying lots of N-words and F Elon, F that N-word Elon, very naughty stuff that they shouldn't be saying, and Twitter verified it. Now, I could see the Elon asking for it to be verified after somebody says F Elon, like as a troll of some sort, because he's a guy like that. But yeah, so this is kind of what people were worried about, right? Now Disney has to be like, look, this isn't us. Like, well, sure, we support the Uyghur Muslim, the suppression of the Uyghur Muslims out there, but we don't support bad language here in America. We're not for that. Thoughts?
Man, I don't have any thoughts related on that, but I just can say I freaking love this guy.
Because you don't know when he's
that's what
trolling
you
or
should
not?
do if you're stinking rich. Like, that's why it's called FU money.
Yeah, that's
he's
what it is.
actually saying FU to them.
Yep.
Like, what a legend.
It says, okay, what it says, the elaborate prank appears to be the brainchild of Twitter user Seven Virtues, who has already considered the potential legal ramifications from the entertainment giant, and Disney will sue the crap out of you if they can. Like, Disney loves lawyers and loves to sue people, so this is absolutely something that could happen. He says, the elaborate, it says, I'm not even kidding when I say Disney might actually F up my whole life.
Yeah, kind of.
Look, I think this was what was going to happen when the blue check marks got like removed, and I've just been watching it very interesting. I find it very interesting how many of these celebrities had so much of their identity tied to that blue check mark.
So weird.
To their sense of feeling special.
Yeah. I mean, I think it makes sense because I have heard of, it's definitely influencers and YouTubers say, oh my gosh, I got my blue check mark, or, they get excited about it. And in some ways that does feel like an accomplishment. Like, you are such an influence that people have to see that you are in fact the real thing. There are no copycat accounts. On the other hand, again, I go back to the fact that Twitter is a subjective company, and that is allowing some people to have this kind of named credibility and not everyone, because of course, unfortunately, there are people that we don't like who are influential. And so
what upsets me is all the dog shit journalists that got a check mark because they wrote an article about avocado toast increasing global warming and Trump by 13%.
Yeah.
And they just know a guy who knows a guy, and now they're verified. And it's like, you cheated.
Yeah.
You're not known. You're not noteworthy. How do you feel like this is a win?
One of the big complaints a lot of people had about like Marvel writers was like they would tweet all this insane stuff out, and people are like, that's fine, but you have Marvel in your byline, like in your Twitter profile, right? So you're not representing the company that well. And then they're like, well, I'm an independent contractor.
And you're claiming affiliation with the company.
Exactly.
I mean, that's when everyone started
and
putting
that's how they got their blue checks.
Comments or like posts are my own opinions. Liking something doesn't mean agreeing.
Can somebody explain to me what the hell it means when it says retweets are not endorsements?
I think it means like you're not endorsing the idea by retweeting it. Yeah.
You're just trying to protect yourself from blue hair.
You
crazies.
can't catch me for my activity online.
But they
talking
will.
about the thing rather than saying this is what I believe.
I do find that there are times, because I'm not that good at using Twitter, but there are times that I'll see an article that I would like to have saved somewhere. I think you can bookmark stuff on Twitter now, but like where it would make sense to retweet it so I know where to find it later. But I don't want to be like, retweet because I support this concept. I just want to read about it. You know what I'm saying?
I wish you could flag messages in Twitter for later, like just red flag on them, then sort by flagged messages.
Yeah. You mean
like
I can't
email?
save I have all these messages and some of them are interesting, but I can't respond in time, and then they get lost in 100 other messages, and I don't know what to do.
Dude, I'm telling you, like, I'm sure like Twitter now would appreciate input like that.
That'd be huge, a huge upgrade.
Because that's pretty good.
You should just hit up Elon.
Yeah.
You just hit him up.
soon. Maybe 3
Yeah.
weeks.
Like, but for the celebrities that have passed on, I do have to wonder what's going to happen, because I actually make a point to talk about this. Like most of the time, I use Twitter differently than like say this show. Like I try to keep my Twitter to be a majority of things that are actually quite positive things to discuss, right? So I don't want after I die my Twitter to become a place where like if my Twitter became like this show, I wouldn't like it, because I use this show as the time to talk about these things that are somewhat interesting to me, but they're better in a conversational setting. And I use Twitter as a time to spread a little positivity when that's where I post shows that I like, things that I'm enjoying watching.
You reshare cute animal photos.
Exactly. And such things. I wouldn't want my Twitter, and that's not even a different person. So I wouldn't want my Twitter to become an extension of the show inherently.
Right.
So if I don't even want Twitter to become an extension of another part of who I am, why would I ever want somebody else to have control of that after I pass on?
I'm kind of with that. I think it's like a museum that I'm curating, and when the doors are closed, the doors are closed.
Yeah.
Then the museum is set. You can come in and look at the museum, but don't add to it anymore. Make your own museum.
Yeah.
It reminds me of named foundations, like people, like foundations that are named for someone, and they'll come out and say like, we don't support this person or we don't condone that person, but they're sort of cashing in the power of the name, you know. So if you have the Ronald Reagan Foundation and they come out and they're like, we don't support Donald Trump, then it's like implying that Ronald Reagan doesn't support Donald Trump. But of course we have no idea, because he's not here to voice his own opinion, but they are sort of controlling his legacy. So like, I can't think of anything else, but
There's a ton
The
of it.
Gravel Institute.
Sure, or like if like Tolkien had an institution and they were like, we are commenting on politics, even though they don't really need to.
There are other examples, but my brain isn't working that well today. There's absolutely.
You have
better
a
examples.
serious Monday energy today, I guess.
Yes, I'm not doing very well today.
For
Looks like
corporations.
someone's got a case of the Mondays.
I do.
How corporate of you.
Corporations are a big example of how new ownership can come in and just make the corporation say some other thing that's completely irrelevant
Well,
to
and
their
it makes me
original
think
mission.
of like, you know, a couple weeks ago there was that Burberry ad that people were really upset about because it featured like two trans people, you know, like, or gender fluid. I'm not really sure how you would classify it. And people were saying like, this doesn't represent the values, and they would hold up the pictures of the Burberry ads from years and years ago, and it's much more sort of traditional pictures.
Dude,
of
what
women.
Is the Lincoln Project supposed to be about President Lincoln?
No.
No idea.
Okay.
One of your greatest points in IRL was that, by the way, I agree with this a trillion%, is that after a while, Disney is not Disney. It's not the same people. It's not the same core values. They're not even creating the same media. It's almost as if you should reapply to be Disney, or you should abandon Disney after a certain. You should be forced to abandon Disney after a certain while. I don't know what the parameters
the
should
problem
be.
with that is that that's just because it's a company that was started by a person who had that name, right? So people would just start naming companies they wouldn't name companies after themselves.
But they want to
anymore.
use that name because the name evokes some meaning.
Yeah, it's called good in marketing. It's and accounting. It's called goodwill, and it's like an intrinsic value that your company has because the good name and the work that is generated in the past can lead towards bigger successes.
Yeah.
And I think that I agree with you with the point that there comes to a point where you literally have become so far away from that you must concede this goodwill. You are not deserving of it. You don't represent the goodwill, and you must absolutely let go of it.
Yeah, like how would you? I think this too. How would you quantify? Like when would that happen? Because like Anheuser-Busch got sold or merged with InBev,
Which is, by the way, the most dystopian company name ever, to have some large multinational beverage conglomerate. It's like straight out of a dystopian novel. I'm
They
picturing
can't even
like,
come up with a name. They're just like, it's just beverages corp.
I'm picturing like a cartoon like of this enormous building from the bottom that just reaches to the sky with a giant sign that says InBev on the top.
I think there should be some founders. I think the founders need to have like a mission statement. Our object, for example, just to give one, let's say us four would start a company. The Schmoogie Company's objective is to
Schmoogie
release
Company.
5 seasons, potentially 8 of the greatest show on earth.
skateboarding. Yeah.
Boom. And when it
Vert
exceeds
skate.
that, you should reapply to be called the Schmoogie.
Do you
Or
have to
whatever
then-
the hell.
And then you have to redefine what your mission is?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting because I think that's why people, like with all the stuff that's happened with Disney recently, people are like, but Disney is what put out Cinderella. And like they have this idea
Yes.
of what it was. It reminds me of if you haven't been back to your like hometown in a long time. Like I grew up in a rural area. And so suddenly you're driving through and you're like, there's a Dunkin' Donuts here, or there's like something that wasn't here before and it's slowly changing.
It's like
or if
Evil
they like
Corp
open a
in Mr.
roundabout
Robot.
and traffic flows differently. I think there are these moments where you could see, oh, things are changing, but if you don't come in for a long time, if you're there throughout the change, you're used to it. But if you are revisiting it, it seems totally different.
What was the name of the company in Mr. Robot? Was that Evil Corp?
Evil Corp. I mean, it was E Corp.
But it's also supposed to be like Enron, basically. The logo evoked Enron at the time. Like, I think it's funny that used to be tech companies and now it's becoming entertainment companies. That's what Amazon is. Though I've noticed that cell phone companies stay VAT for the most part because they know they're guilty of all the mining of products like cobalt and stuff like that. So they know they're guilty of it. But it's like they preach Disney or does Apple preach a message of any sort? I remember that Ricky Gervais made fun of them.
Well, Apple was interesting because Steve Jobs evoked like this era of a lifestyle. So I don't know that there was like one specific message other than like we are the leading front of design and we are sort of, there was a cachet that they built. And so even if they didn't have a written mission statement, there was a specific type of energy and look that came with Apple that evoked something.
And Wozniak, he gave stock to all the founding employees. Like he's just like a, I guess you'd call him like a, what do they call it? Like a not a proliferate, but someone that gives their wealth away, you know, those one of those people. So that was part of the core ethos of Apple in the early days.
In a way that Microsoft doesn't have. Like Bill Gates does not give off the same Steve Jobs vibe that we all know.
Philanthropist, yes. Steve Wozniak's severe philanthropy. I love that guy. And now with Tim Cook, it feels like a different company.
Yeah, it does. And I think that's true of like Victoria's Secret was one thing that they got in trouble and they're like, just kidding, we're something else now. I think this does happen over time. And I mean, I know it's been talked to death, but this is sort of what we're seeing with the Budweiser campaign or the Bud Light. This person who was in charge of advertising, Alyssa, I can't remember.
Scheidenheld or something?
Heidenfeld. She specifically said my job, she did this interview saying my job was to change the direction of the company from its roots as this fratty, crass humored thing and make it something new. And the fact is, like, that is not always good or bad. Like, you're not evolving with the times by abandoning your core. I mean, did someone say, hey, we really need to do this, or you felt called to do this?
She
like, I'm not sure
screwed
what
it
you
up,
mean by that.
but I'm saying somebody still asked her to do that.
No, she's saying it was my job, but I'm saying, did she feel as though it was her job to do this because she got this job, or did someone explicitly tell her?
Get us away from the fratty image. Oh yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe if corporations are people, maybe the way to go, I mean, they're not, but the way to go about this is, you know, you get a family name. Your family name is Disney, right? But now you got a first name and it has to go before it. So it's like, I am one of the descendants of Disney, but I am Coconut Water Disney.
Well, there is still one of his descendants is still alive. Annabelle, I always forget her name. There's one of the Disney granddaughters is still alive or something like that.
There's not that many. There is I've been listening to this podcast called Blood and Business, and these two sisters started it, and they talk about, you know, famous siblings, and their season they're doing right now is all on the Kennedy siblings, but because there's so many of them. But they did do a 2-episode arc on the Disney brothers, and it is really interesting because they were this really close pair of brothers. One who basically was like the business side and one who was the creative. Yeah. And they had other siblings that they didn't stay in contact with really, and they built this empire, but they did it tightly bound to one another. Like there was a deep sense of loyalty and trust and vision. And I wonder what it would look like to look back on this.
Yeah. This is Walt's brothers, Roy?
It's Walt
Annabelle,
Disney,
I think that's who I'm thinking
the creative,
of. Annabelle.
And then Roy was the brother who's like, he's older and he's more business minded.
Yeah, and then there's Raymond and Herbert.
But they don't really
involved.
have a relationship with them. From what this podcast said.
Wow. I like that idea of having corporations having a first name, depending on who's running the corporations.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's do some super chats. We're almost at a second crisis party there.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
Okay, so why not Bill? Oh no, we already read that one. The multiple Hannah's simp says, "What are amazing places to vacation at? Because I've never vacated and plan to someday." Yep. Do you guys have any destinations?
The beach. If you haven't been to the beach, man. Oh, the salt water and the ocean. Sand, yes, and the seaweed, the beach.
And the ocean is the world's largest deposit of magnesium, which is good for relaxation and muscles.
Oh, it's so good for you.
My family, when I was younger, went to Nags Head, North Carolina. I'd like to go back.
Yeah, cool. We were Ocean Isle, North Carolina.
Yeah, it's beautiful out there.
We should take a group trip to North Carolina.
I love North Carolina.
Plan this on a live podcast.
Do it, man.
I always want to because you can get like beach houses and go with friends. I think
that's where we literally like the family stayed.
Yeah,
like, it's so funny too because it's like my family. My dad dad worked for like government. We didn't have money. Like we could only afford to have like half the family fly. So like half the family flew there and the other half drove, and then the other half of the family flew back and the other half drove back.
We could set up probably offices. Like get like 3 or 4 beach houses and then
like,
set up an office
work
and
from the
work.
office and have I feel like that'd be so fun.
Surf
it reminds
during
me
the day.
of I knew a bunch of people who basically when everyone got
parasailing too.
When everyone got sent to be like work from home, I knew a bunch of people who were like, well, I don't want to be trapped in my apartment with a bunch of roommates, and I don't want to go stay with my parents, so I'm going to find a bunch of my friends and go like quarantine and work from these like cool places. And I feel like you can do stuff like that. I think also vacations depend on what you're looking for. Some people like vacations to relax, and some people like vacations to like experience new things.
I asked my boss not Tim, my boss before Tim, that listen, so we're quarantined now, I'm working remote. Can I please go to Puerto Rico with my elderly family that I don't know how long I'm going to be with them? She told me, if you do that, I'll fire you.
But if you can get
you got to work from home from the apartment in DC or I'll fire you.
If you can get your work done, why couldn't you go?
Yeah,
right?
that's the right state of mind.
Yeah.
For the modern culture, that's the right state of mind.
And then she won an award for being a lovely...
humanitarian, lovely person.
Yes, the manager of the people.
Oh my gosh,
I
that's
think
crazy.
you let your employees, you give them a little leeway to go do what they need to do, where they need to do it, and if they fail, then you can strip that away from them.
Yeah,
But
I think I understand that initial trial process. Like you got to get to know someone, work together, see how it's going, and then you can earn more freedom and stuff like that.
And everyone knows that the unlimited time off thing is a trap.
Oh, it's
such a trap.
yeah, like, you want this? You want this unlimited cake,
well,
Brett?
sure.
I think
Sure.
the downside is unlimited time off, and I've worked in a couple offices that have it. Some people take advantage of it, they love it, and other people feel so concerned that they are not being productive enough to justify it that they overwork and compensate. You know what I mean? So they are working more than some people, and other people are at rest for longer.
Thank you.
And therefore you get some employees who are burning out, but other people who don't feel as motivated. So I don't know, it's just kind of interesting. I knew some company, my friend worked for an insurance company, who you get a certain amount of time off, but then you could also buy extra days off.
What?
And then at the end of the year, if you didn't use them, they would just give you the money back.
That's amazing.
It was a really cool system. And my friend would be like, I would just always max out, and then I'd always get the money back. It's not like well, you paid for it, so we're going to keep it.
That's
and
amazing.
It meant she could take all these trips.
Because a lot of places do use it or lose it vacation, like, right? Like, I think the federal employees do that. Like, they're either required to take the days off, or it's like if you don't take them off, you just don't get to do it.
Is that how you do it, Fed?
Well, yes.
It all comes out at the end.
It's all I'm taking all my days
ya.
off to bring this place down.
Okay,
So,
well, you're doing a great job.
yes, me and Tad Bromwell.
Where else are we going on vacation? Do we have any other recommendations?
So let's go to North Carolina
I
first.
feel like North Carolina's the move.
I'm a big fan of the heat. Mountains are pretty cool.
Yeah, I like being around nature. So I feel like I also... Any sort of coast, right? If you go to Maine, you get some mountains. It's cooler. If you go to North Carolina, also beautiful.
I would like to go to Maine at some point.
Let's do it.
It's so nice.
I love Maine. And okay, the multiple Hannah Simps says Hannah Claire is awesome. Thank you so much. And they also say Hannah Claire is wonderful. Thank you so much.
And there was a heart in the first one behind Claire's.
Oh,
awesome
I just
one.
have a square, and then I have
There's,
the heart.
It was this one, the one that all teenage girls do at concerts just before they tell you that Israel and
I feel like it
Palestine
reminds
just get
me
along.
of MySpace era.
Yes.
But then the new teens do it like this. They do the
they're
new
such
teens.
rebels.
HCB is a naturally beautiful woman. Dane, this is from Corey and those were both from Corey Anderson. Corey Anderson says, Dane, I could not get past Market until I don't know what this level 58.
You know what? Keep going, brother. I believe
What
in
is
you.
it?
It's a boss from Elden Ring.
Did you beat it?
No, it beat me.
Oh, wow. I still don't have it. Is it worth buying?
I mean, if you can deal with the pain of losing every 5 seconds,
Nah. I mean, I can, but I don't want to.
right?
I never get into Dark Souls games. I felt like it's just like dive, roll, attack, roll, attack. And when you figure out the pattern, you just have to memorize and do the pattern. It's like going through motions rather than like creatively attempting.
It's
I could be
literally
wrong, but that's what
that.
it felt like.
And then the story you have to make out from having conversations with NPCs, and it's like this conversation you had right now and a conversation you are gonna have in 20 hours from now. You gotta these two tie in. It's like, yeah, I'm autistic. I don't know. I can't put those together. Thanks.
It feels like you have to never leave the game, right? You have to play for long stretches so you never forget any of the information.
Yep.
Oh, that's a trap.
It's the only way.
Hannah Sims is back. Penny for your thoughts. Hannah Hart, I see you staring off into deep thoughts. Is everything okay? How's life? What is life? With this emoji, a crying laughing emoji, and heart emoji.
What is life?
What is life? Somebody
What
tell
is
me.
life?
Yeah.
Fed?
Chemical reaction?
I'm gonna super chat to get us a second crisis party.
Okay,
here.
there we go.
Oh my God! So
move.
yeah, now you know how we
I
get
love
crisis
that.
parties when Brett's like needing the boost.
I might do it. I got setting aside. All right.
Do you guys have any thoughts to share with our
Re-ask the question.
commenter?
Sorry.
No, I won't read it
This is
again.
why I don't have the chat open anymore during the show because I have the attention
Penny for
span
your
of a
thoughts,
gnat.
Brett?
Okay.
What is life?
What is life? Is everything okay? Is the other question.
It's
Sorry.
it's learning how to take a bunch of pain and deal with it.
Oh
Wow.
man, you okay, buddy?
Yeah, gravity is painful. That's a big part of it for newborns, I would think. Like, geez, deal with the light, deal with the cold.
Learning
They
to
say
deal
that
with it
though because it's a
productively.
change in senses and you get overwhelmed.
I think water birthing is the way.
The infinite ability to take pains and be
You remind me
okay.
of the Marines thing. Pain or weakness. Pain is weakness leaving the body.
Yes.
Bend but do
exactly-
not break.
Darth Doza sent us something we already read, and then Christina says the Hogwarts video game introduced a wizard school somewhere in Africa as well. Lots of options for new stories. Thank you. That's good to know. I didn't know that. I don't
They might
play the
actually
game.
implement that then. They might end up using that in the
I
show.
just think there are lots of ways to celebrate culture, but just putting people in like through race swapping doesn't really honor anything about that. It's sort of cheap and tasteless. But
They're going to get
that's
rid
my
of
opinion.
Bobaton and implement that school probably maybe for the television version of the Goblet of Fire.
be interesting. Bobcat says, Ian, if you really want a good script, look at Rendezvous with Rama and then use that as an excuse to get Morgan Freeman on PCC.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
There was a big thing recently where he was talking about how he still hates Black History Month and he still hates the term African American.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah, when are you guys booking him as a guest?
Let's get on that. Like recently, there's a pro wrestler, like a well-known pro wrestler named EC3. Like sent me a friend request the other day. I'm like, maybe I get him on the show.
You should. That'd be fun.
He's given that I follow a lot of wrestling podcasts still. So
And I think the nice thing about this show format is like you could be involved in pop culture professionally, like you've had writers on and stuff, but you could also just be an observer, doing your regular, interesting other career and just have things to say.
And most of the time, I think the discussions are pretty general. Like
Yeah.
when we're talking.
And
about
so
this
many
stuff.
people are affected by this. They come into contact with it.
There is a second crisis party coming. Just a heads up. I'm warning everyone.
But did you pay for it?
No, I do not.
Aw, that's so nice of you guys to come through for Brett.
But somebody was basically said like, does the crisis party why does Brett get to annoy everybody with the crisis party when clearly nobody else likes it? I'm like, hey, I'm pushing the buttons here, bro.
He is.
I'm pushing the buttons. And
Brett
if I'm
is-
pushing the buttons, people can take my. You guys don't even get the new one. The next one for this week is a compilation of celebrities having meltdowns on set.
Why don't we get the new
It's
one?
Christian because I wanted you guys to hear this one because this one you guys none of you heard last week. If you'd been here last week, I would have changed it.
I
Already.
appreciate that.
Okay, it's Christian Bale yelling on set, and it's Tom Cruise yelling on set in a mashup of them just being mean to people on set. And then after that, it's Alec Baldwin yelling at his daughter, and Mel Gibson yelling at his ex-wife.
Based.
Can I ask you a question, Brett?
Yes.
Were you one of those people that had a custom ringtone for everyone on your phone?
No.
I feel
no.
like that's sort of
This
the
is-
energy I'm getting right
This
now.
this was something where like we kind of floated the idea of doing different crisis parties, and it was supposed to just be once a month, and then I started doing it once
Then
a
you
week.
fell
and
in love with it.
No. Now it's like Saturday rolls around. I'm like, I gotta go up and do this, and then it takes about 5 minutes. I get started, and then the evil kicks in, and I'm like, here's what I can add.
If I go scream with Carter and record
Yes.
it, would you be interested?
Yes,
Okay, I'll do
absolutely.
that.
That's why we're still hearing Carter, right?
Yeah, I don't know if Carter's on this one.
One time Carter did an episode with me and we like made him do it live.
Yeah,
and then
that's where
then
that's
the
pulled
next
from.
week I came back and it was Carter's voice still. It was really funny.
That's where that one was pulled from.
Yeah. Last of My Kind says AI music is art, but it's not your art. It's the AI.
Okay. Speaking of which, that's a good. I'm going to end the poll. So I did ask the question: is AI created music art? And it looks like 65% say no, 35% say yes.
That'll
Thoughts,
be an
Ian?
interesting cultural reckoning that we have over the next
Yeah.
couple years. Like, how does computer generated content fit into the spectrum of art?
Right, like because if someone pays you to paint a painting, they're not the artist. You are. So if you're creating an AI to make a painting, the AI is not the AI would be the artist, not the person that created the AI.
Yeah.
but can a machine be an artist?
Yep. See, I'm an artist. I create crisis party sound effects that ruin everyone's day. That's my art.
Do you guys
Good for
know
you.
the art that's in like frames at IKEA or Target and stuff like that? Like most of the time, that art, if they want to buy, if those large companies want to buy it, they have to license it from the artist,
Yeah.
so they make money that way, which I assume probably is a fair amount of money because those are big chains. Like now, Target doesn't need that, or IKEA doesn't need that, so they're not
Yeah.
going to contact these small artists.
not like
They're
it's
just
a
going to
famous
have
photo.
AI generated art that they didn't have to pay for or paid very little for.
Every
like in
time-
some ways, I don't like it because it displaces the humans, which is the ultimate fear with AI, right?
The AI is ripping off copyrighted images across the internet. It's just ripping off music, art, movies.
Because it can't
pictures.
make anything truly, truly original, right? It always needs a prompt or some sort of source material.
I think so.
The that kind of reminds me, like in the show NCIS,
I love
the
NCIS.
guy, like the director has that famous photo of Muhammad Ali in the background, and at the end of every episode they have to credit that photo. I don't know if they get paid for that photo being up there.
Probably.
So that guy's making a ton of money because it's relevant to the character in the show who finds value, who explains why he loves that picture. And
Which they also must have been like, this is worth the cost.
yeah,
you know?
basically they had to have a scene of him explaining it, otherwise it wouldn't be worth it.
That's crazy. DD Mega Doodoo 97 says, howdy y'all, with like 47 L's, not
Thank
47.
you.
Just stopping by to Hey Brit, HBC Graphian, and Dane the Main
Yeah.
attraction font.
Wouldn't that be
I like
HCB, not HBC?
Look,
That's a
maybe
that's a
this is
historically
an
black
acronym.
college and university,
Yes.
not Hannah Reynolds.
Bang,
different
too,
thing.
isn't it?
I feel like people can
HSBC.
sense it's not. Maybe he just is preferring to give credit to the historically black colleges. I really like this Dane the Main attraction font
Yes.
Yeah. that was
Maine,
good.
N-A-N-E, not M-A-I-N.
because he's got beautiful hair.
It's the Maine.
I do,
Yeah.
don't I?
Dane Thank you for sacrificing yourself, Dane.
Brett's charging you for workers' comp after this.
You're not even by the speaker. That's the funniest part. A lot of people are like, why don't they put it through the speakers? I'm like, do you want me to blow their eardrums out?
Absolutely
God.
not.
Like it's better for them for it to be on the outside speaker than it is to be in your headphones.
I don't know,
would
it
be
freaked
even
me
worse.
X says, just got done segregating affinity groups at work, so I'm so effing pissed off that I could sneeze. What?
Could sneeze fire.
Sneeze fire. That's an amazing image.
So that's
what
something
were you
is-
doing at your job?
Is that something you had to do for like you see those things
Sensitivity
about
training?
sensitivity training? That stuff's crazy.
That also feels wrong. That feels like it could not have been right. Anyways, Das Fortune says Twitter currently has a bookmark function. Functions exactly like you guys are asking. Keep track of the tweet threads. No retweeting. Cheers, everyone.
But it's also like,
That's
dude,
not what he said though. He said like pin to the top so you can see it.
well, you can pin your own tweets to the top of.
I was thinking about messages,
No.
direct messages.
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
talking about.
I was the one talking, saying like, I know there is a bookmark function, but before there was, I kept thinking like, I don't want to retweet this, but I do want to keep track of it because I want to read it later.
You can flag,
But it doesn't save Ian's. It doesn't fix Ian's problem.
on Instagram. You can also bookmark certain conversations, but it's not like it's like it gives like a little orange click check on the top of the conversation.
like, stands out a
So
little
like
bit
if
more?
you're scrolling and you're trying to find that conversation again, it will stand out immediately.
Raymond G. Stanley Jr. Oh, hey Raymond. Says, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Does anybody know?
Plenty, I think.
It's like also for that question.
Also, how fired up is the woodchuck? Like, are you coming near its home? How badly does it want to throw wood at you?
Yeah, cortisol
Interesting.
levels.
Also, does anybody else feel like has anybody ever included any of those like close friends things on Instagram where you get like the person has on the story posts, if it's somebody you follow and on their
The
story,
close circle friends?
Yeah, the close friends group.
Yeah.
If you ever want to make somebody feel special, just
You
include
add them to that.
Like
Yeah,
even
yeah,
even if it's something you'd be completely fine with sharing with everyone.
Yeah.
Make a close friends group and just share stuff with them to make them feel special.
I have friends who do that with like their moms now, so they
Aw.
share photos of their kids via the close
so
circle.
that everybody else can't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I
That makes
respect.
sense.
Ryan Kennel says, S kit.
No, you missed Dane.
What?
You missed Dane.
I don't have.
Dane says bread is a fed.
Dane didn't come in on mine.
Dane-
no, Dane is after Ryan on mine.
Oh,
Just I don't know.
before on mine.
What did Dane say?
Dane said Brett is a Fed, and I
Interesting.
think you heard it here first. This is confirmation. We got it in a super chat. Brett is indeed a Fed.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah,
That
you
is.
need to
I'm not going to
reference.
take this libelous slander on my own show. That's
Well,
not-
super chat in and tell us you're not. Otherwise, I don't believe you.
Yes.
Noah Sanders, in parentheses, Doc Q says, I would love to see EC3 or Xavier Woods on the show, or someone like Chris Jericho, who is involved with culture, not only with pro wrestling, but he's also with his rock band.
He's in a rock band called Fozzy.
He just does it all.
Which is a great name for a guy with like a hair metal type. I mean, I don't know if it's a hair metal type band, but he's got long hair, therefore it is now a hair metal band.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, invite him.
I love Jericho. He was huge in 2001,
cool.
1999 is
Lion
what we were really
Tamer.
watching.
Yeah.
Walls of
He's
Jericho.
also, it's really funny, he's the one of the, he succeeded even though in his very first appearance in WWE, The Rock roasted him. Like basically said like, who the hell are you? It's like completely got put down. And
John Cena was a jobber too.
The end of Noah Sanders' comment is, I'm sure there are plenty of people in wrestling who would speak out, like Jim Ross. So I feel like if you had a wrestler on, people would be psyched about it.
I mean,
That's the feedback
maybe
get.
I will reach out to EC3 and see if he wants to be on the show, because I still listen to. It's really funny. Wrestling podcasts are the things that that's my entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Like I listen to a lot of wrestling podcasts because I just don't have the time to watch all the shows. I mean, the shows are 3 hours long.
It's a lifestyle.
It is, and the people that love it love it. Like I am the rare casual who watches beyond just the live shows, right?
Okay.
Like interested in the industry, but not enough to watch like 3 hours of a show.
I never did it with like WWE wrestling, but when I was in college, I was dating someone who would like buy the fight for the night, but then also like I have people over and like we'd make food and like you could hang out, and then also their house had like a backyard, so if you didn't want to watch this fight, you could always find someone to hang out. It was sort of like a reason to get together, and I feel like that is a good. So presumably people do this with other sports too.
See, I want to get Carmella on because Carmella's super hot, but that's I don't know if that's
well, that
possible.
relates to our next super chat. Corey Anderson says 2 episodes ago on Cast Castle, when Sarah parodied that exercise chick, Sarah is a really cute. Tim hires attractive women.
Who is what exercise chick?
She was like she was parodying one of those girls who's like, that guy is staring at me in the gym. This is crazy.
Oh.
That's awesome.
I told them
she
to
did
do
such
that.
a good job.
I literally like a long guy said.
It's also funny because Sarah is like a gym workout
she
kind
is.
of girl.
But I said what they should have done is, I mean, I haven't seen it, but I said it should be her like working out, and then like everybody comes in and doesn't look at her, and like walks like right by her and doesn't notice her, and she's getting angry that nobody's like staring at her.
They took half your idea.
And that's okay. They might have just
Story by
yeah.
Brett Dansevich.
But I was,
Where are your credits?
But that is one of those things where you see there's so many great videos. Now there's this one of this guy going through a cell phone minefield in a gym where it's just he's walking by equipment and there's just phones everywhere because every piece of equipment is being
Mission
used by a
Impossible
woman. Yeah, and
lasers.
he's like stepping over it and he's trying not to knock anything over.
Coming in
And
from, like, a
finally,
wire.
like he gets to the end and he knocks over like a full size camera that's just there for no reason.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
That is funny.
All right, guys, all of you, thank you so much for joining me today. Ian,
Oh, it was
friend,
my pleasure, Brett. Thank
let
you.
everyone know where they can find you.
You guys follow me, Ian Crossland, at Ian Crossland, everywhere on the internet, any social media account, iancrossland.net if you want to follow me there. I'm on Timcast IRL, 8 p.m. Eastern. On Timcast IRL. I won't be on there tonight or for the next week. I will be in Texas. I'll be both in Dallas and Austin. I'm going to be doing an Alex Stein show, working with the Blaze for a few days. We're going to do an episode with the Mises Caucus on Saturday. That is takehumanaction.tour.com. If you want to get tickets to see me out there, that'll be Saturday night, May 29th. And then I'll be back the following Wednesday.
Look at
Until
you.
then.
Perfect.
Have a wonderful weekend.
All right, man.
And we-
All right, Dane, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Dane Font, and now I shall spell that out for you. DANEFONT.
Perfect. There's one more there.
The last one is from Noah Sanders, in parentheses, .q. I want to get back to watching wrestling, especially with AEW being in the mix now.
Yep.
I just watched too much Timcast to have time for WWE. We love the loyalty and AEW. Oh, you should also look into maybe inviting Tyrus onto the show.
Yeah, Tyrus does like Fox News. Like he goes on Fox News and stuff like that. He'd like bring his title belt on Fox News with him. So he could he does that. That'd be great. Maybe if I get both of those guys on, that'd be a huge thing. Mm-hmm. All right, Hannah Claire, where can they find you?
Oh, there's a last one. Sorry,
and one more.
Touchy Subject says, "Oh, good for you."
To who?
I think to Ian.
Unless
he's doing all kinds of fun things.
Thank you.
Isaac, or you could be talking about my sound effect next week or that's going to be later this week with Christian Bale going, "Oh, good for you."
Yes.
Oh, how would they know that you're doing that though? Have you already disclosed this to the public?
I mentioned it earlier that I had
sorry, I'm not
stuff. Yeah. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b. You can find me on Twitter at hcbrimolo. You should 110% follow at TimCastNews on Twitter and Instagram. It's the best. We have a bunch of really cool writers and lots of fun content. I'm actually sitting in for Ian tonight on IRL, so if you want to hear me perhaps rant more, I'll be there. And yeah, basically it's been lovely, and I hope you guys all have a good week.
Perfect. Thank you. Guys, before we go, could you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already? I'm very excited that we just passed 58,000 subscribers. It means the world to me. Thank you so much. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, it's at Brett Dasovic on both. This show is here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you'd like to listen to the audio version of this podcast, it's on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. And if you'd like to follow the show on social media, we are on Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at popculturecrisis, and on Instagram at popculturecrisisPod. We will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys. Bye. Bye.